All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Happy Monday. Hope everybody out there had an awesome weekend and you're having a great day today. But prepare yourself because I got a lot to get to. So in just a second, Trump has mentally snapped over the weekend and he's yelling at his own team and all hell is breaking loose. So I'm going to go through all of that for you. Yet another 100 post meltdown over on Lie Social, where one post is more deranged than the next and it's packed full of AI slop and stuff that you would put your grandfather in a home for. So we'll talk about that. We also have Trump bombing a toddler in Iran at the same time that we're learning the war is completely and utterly lost. That's not according to me. That's according to now multiple experts who've come out and said the same thing. We'll also get to a Trump depression looming because there's a massive crash happening with the Japanese yen, and the U.S. is rushing in to bail it out and backstop it. So we're already beginning to see the cracks in the global economic system, and make no mistake about it, all of this is directly because of the illegal war against Iran and the Strait of Hormuz being shut. So we'll talk about that. Also, a secret Israeli op to rat fuck Spain has been exposed. I'm sure you guys have seen some chatter about this so far. Of course, I'm talking about, I believe it's Ceuta is how you pronounce it. It's a Spanish enclave that's close to Morocco, and Israel came up with a devious plan to get back at Spain simply for being pro-Palestine, so we'll dive into that as well. And later on, the wife-beater MAGA psycho, Max Miller, came out and gave an address and refused to drop out of his race, and he doubled down and tripled down and basically humiliated himself on the global stage and exposed yet again how the Republican Party is nothing but a fascist, terrorist, imperialist death cult packed full of abusers and sickos. So we'll talk about that as well. You guys know the drill, man. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. You can also support the show on Patreon. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser or done an ad read, and I'm very proud of that fact. You guys have made that possible. So thank you for everybody who gives $1 a month or $2 a month or $5 a month or tips with the thanks button on YouTube. That all makes a big difference. Also, you can sign up for Crystal Kylan Friends on Substack. Bro, highly recommend you go listen to the full Rania Khalek interview, because Rania Khalek has been subpoenaed by the Trump regime because she's covering all of Trump's crimes. So this is directly because of NSPM 7 and the new Red Scare. Definitely go watch that interview if you haven't watched it yet. Also, help out Breakthrough News, who, like I said, are under attack by Trump and his fascist brigade. And then also, of course, go sub to Corin's World. We do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night at 8:30, and we should be live tonight, so come hang out with us there as well. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right in ski. So let's start with this. Our sundowning POTUS was crashing out over the weekend on Lie Social, and you're not going to be surprised to learn that one of the main things he kept talking about was the fucking reflecting pool. So let me walk you through. He says, the reflecting pool, which suffered great damage due to the vandals and radical left scum that hate our country, has been for the past 2 days in full operation. It looks beautiful. After July 4th, we will release the water, fix the damage done to the very expensive waterproof matting with the use of sharp knives and muscle, including the 350-foot gash along its right side, and have it looking as good as it was 2 weeks ago when it was absolutely perfect. This will all happen very quickly. Security is watching very carefully for the almost 70 other monuments, statues, and fountains that we renovated throughout Washington, D.C. If anyone attacks any of them, they get as much as 10 years in jail. In any event, go check it out. The reflecting pool is magnificent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. As Ron Filipkowski says here, just think of how sick, twisted, and demented you have to be to post this as president, knowing it is all a lie because you don't want to admit you hired an unqualified pool guy, the act of typing this, knowing that every word is false. Except it's worse than that, Ron, because it's not just like, oh, I got somebody who was incompetent. No, the whole purpose of picking this guy was to skim off the top, was the corruption, was the self-dealing, was the no-bid contract, was like, hey, you're going to give me 20% of this money I'm giving you, right? And going to make me rich in the process. That's what's actually going on here. So not only that, he, of course, cracked down and persecuted innocent people. There's a former U.S. Olympian who they brought charges against over touching the reflecting pool. You literally can't even make this shit up. All right, well, guess what? Look at this. So Trump comes out, and it turns out Jeanine Pirro, who was charging the former Olympian with touching the reflecting pool for Trump, doing a brazen example of political persecution and, singling out some innocent person for touching the reflecting pool water because Trump couldn't hold the L that he failed miserably and the reflecting pool wasn't fixed. And he's self-dealing, so trying to scapegoat and saying guys like this are the reason why the reflecting pool's messed up. Trump forced Jeanine Pirro to bring charges against this guy who simply touched the reflecting pool water, and then, you're not going to be surprised to learn, they had to drop the charges. Why? Because they have fuck all. They have absolutely nothing. What are you going to do when you actually get in front of a judge? Sir, our fat pedophile war criminal president would like to lock this guy up with no trial whatsoever and no hearing whatsoever, so please allow him to follow through and throw this guy in the gulag because he's trying to save face. Like, obviously the case is going to fall apart, and it did. So Jeanine Pirro had to drop the charges. Well, Trump comes out and says this: I disagree 100% with Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, on the reflecting pool. I don't know what she was thinking. To me, it was a pure case of vandalism that included the grass, which had a big 8647 emblazoned in giant letters on it, and other elements of the surrounding area. There may have been some contractor difficulty, but the major damage was caused by vandals, President Donald J. Trump. Hey, Jack Weasel, if you're in a court of law, you need evidence to make your case. There is no evidence that any of these innocent people you're going after have done anything wrong or committed any crimes. If there was evidence of it, it would have been presented in court and they would have been found guilty. Okay? Jeanine Pirro took one look at the evidence, and even though she's your little fucking cuck sycophant, she went, all right, I guess I gotta throw it out. I got no choice. And so Trump immediately throws her under the bus. So now he's attacking his own cabinet because they have no choice but to drop the charges. Let's be clear about this. We're now at the point where Trump's loyalists are going so over the top with their loyalism that, like I said the other week, they're glurping on that thing. Yes, they're sucking him so silly we had to invent a new term for it. They are glurping on that thing, that baby mushroom cock, okay? Well, now they find themselves in a corner where, like, even if they want to carry out his wishes, they simply can't anymore, and they still get thrown under the bus immediately as a result of that. This guy, loyalty only works one direction with this guy, and everybody knows it. And eventually it always catches up with you. Okay, so I got more here. Trump comes out, and he threatens to keep Todd Blanche as acting attorney general and says he's actually going to keep the $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund alive. Okay, they just made a big deal of, oh no, we're actually dropping this. We're not trying to get the $1.776 billion. We're not trying to hand it out to all the January 6th terrorists and insurrectionists and Trump's cronies. And the reason they did that is because it's so brazenly and wildly illegal. They knew eventually this one could come back to bite them in the ass. Well, now Trump's going, psych, made you look. We're just going to keep going. So he says, if Senators Cornyn and Tillis, both upset because I wouldn't endorse them, they lost and quit respectively, aren't going to approve Todd Blanche, one of the most respected professionals, according to everybody in the country, to be the United States Attorney General, then I will keep Todd as acting AG and push hard to get the anti-weaponization bill, which takes care of those who have been so badly treated by the crooked Joe Biden and Obama administration. I get nothing, although I was treated horribly. Passed. Todd Blanche was a voice of reason. It will immediately be back on the table, and I will get it done. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, in other words, he's saying, I don't even need your approval, Congress, even though I literally need your approval, Congress, because instead of having an approved attorney general, I'll just go with an acting attorney general who's not approved yet and not even seek the approval. And also, I'm going to bring back my wantonly corrupt idea, which is so over the top, even my own sycophants are going, if we follow through with this, we're barbecued. So he was on one, son. He was on one over the weekend. All right, more. Who boy, the Justice Department and Interior Department appear to be openly arguing about the reflecting pool embarrassment. So Doug Burgum says, the evidence is clear. Vandals have repeatedly caused damage to the reflecting pool. Some of these acts were even caught on camera. We also provided the U.S. Attorney's Office expert and eyewitness testimony to the damage done by vandals, provided every piece of evidence they asked for in the requested timeline detailing each area of damage at the pool. The reflecting pool is part of the Lincoln Memorial and dates back to 1922. The president cares deeply about protecting our sacred national monuments, and his leadership has led the restoration of our nation's capital by making D.C. safe and beautiful again. Intentional damage done to the reflecting pool is no different, blah, 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 blah. It goes on. But you now have the Justice Department going, well, what the fuck? I blame the Interior Department. And the Interior Department's going, what the fuck? I blame the Justice Department. They're all trying to pawn off blame because Trump is pissed that they couldn't actually lock anybody up and get any convictions with his stupid show arrests, his theater arrests, where there's fucking 0 Epstein criminals who've been locked up, but they were locking up multiple people for touching the water of the reflecting pool and pretending like they're committing a crime. It's a sick joke. His regime is now at war with itself. Okay? And think about it. They are talking about this shit at the same time. The war has spiraled out of control and the U.S. is losing badly. The economy is in a red alert mode right now, as we'll talk about in a little bit. People are struggling. 18 million people lost their health care. This is the shit that they're talking about. All right, more. Here we go. Trump posts meme suggesting he wants to run for an illegal third term and then follows that up with post suggesting he wants to annex Greenland and Venezuela. Here we go. And Jesus Christ. Trump 2028, make America great again. Remember when he joked the other day at the White House Correspondents' Dinner about Trump 2028? And, basically nobody laughed because everybody knew he's not joking. He means it. He would like to stay in there. He wants to be a dictator. There's no doubt about that. Well, now he posts another meme saying exactly the same thing. Be fucking afraid. Be very fucking afraid. Then we get the hello Greenland again. By the way, this caused a diplomatic apocalypse between the U.S. and our allies in Europe. Now, they don't trust us at all. They don't want to work with us at all. They're gonna go and snuggle up more to China than they are to us as a direct result of what he's saying and what he's doing here. They had literal plans to blow up the airports in Greenland to make sure that the U.S. couldn't land on the runway there to try to seize Greenland officially. Stop and think about that. So now not only do our enemies hate us, because of course they hate us, and we're psychotic and we commit war crimes against them all the time, but even our allies now despise us. And it's because of shit like this. This man is completely and utterly unhinged. He's an imperialist. He's a colonialist. He rolls the clock back to like 1700s or 1800s style imperialism and warmongering. I mean, it is out of this world. You're going to steal Greenland? That's what you're going to do? And by the way, let's remember, the tech oligarchs want him to steal Greenland because they want to turn it into their own anarcho-capitalist libertarian paradise where you have tech CEO kings who run everything and build data centers and use the natural cooling of the cold climate to keep those data centers going. I'm not kidding about any of this. Peter Thiel's the one who really is leading the charge, wanting Greenland. We discussed in detail this nefarious plot to try to create what's called the technate of America, which includes stealing Greenland, but also stealing a lot of Central America and South America. By the way, on that exact point, look at this. Venezuela, 51st state he's posting. Whatever happened to fucking America First? America First is out the fucking window. He's trying to expand the territory, but not to anybody's benefit. Not to your benefit, not to the people of Venezuela's benefit, to his own benefit. Because he kidnapped the president of Venezuela, and now he's stealing their oil and their gold and keeping it personally. You cannot make this shit up, bro. You cannot make this shit up. So this is the stuff he's crashing out over on Live Social. How about this one? Totally normal stuff from the 80-year-old rapidly decaying president. Look at this. Trump acting like, he's in the Revolutionary War and he's leading people into battle, holding his fucking musket. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This man is a baby. He's a toddler. His brain is that of a literal child. All right, I got more though. He's also posting shit like this. President Trump is aging in reverse. And it's a picture of him where he doesn't look good in this picture. He doesn't look younger in this picture. In fact, I would submit to you, he looks his fucking age in that picture. And look, every time I see him say something like this, it's a thou doth protest too much type moment. And then you remember how this guy never sleeps and he brags about never sleeping, which is horrible for your health. We saw that picture of his finger that had a prick in it, which now people are saying he almost certainly has diabetes because of that and the fact that he's obese and 80. There's evidence of congestive heart failure because of his chronic venous insufficiency, which means his cankles swell up like crazy. That didn't happen over a long period of time. That happened in an acute manner, which means it's likely evidence of congestive heart failure. I mean, that's a big deal, y'all. Mini strokes. He could be dealing with mini strokes, like when he disappeared for a week a while back, and everybody's like, where the fuck is he? And he came back, and the very next event, his mouth was drooping on one side a lot. And then he always disappears at the beginning of every month. Clearly, he's dealing with some sort of health thing. You got the bruising on the hand, for example, the rashes on the neck. Don't even get me started on the evidence of Alzheimer's, which his dad had and, struggled with for a long time. So there's a lot going on here. And anytime he posts some shit like this, I immediately think, oh shit, he's protesting too much because he knows he's sundowning like a motherfucker. Okay, same guy, even more energy now he posts. That's like him when he's what? Fucking 19 years old or some shit and saying he has more energy now when he's 80? Like, what are we talking about here? Here's another one. He posts himself with George Washington, a face split with himself and George Washington. Quite the fucking ego on this man. Hubris isn't even the word. We already went over the Hello Greenland one. He compares himself to fucking Elvis Presley. This is something, he goes around all the time and goes, people say I look like Elvis Presley. People always tell me that I look a lot like Elvis Presley. And it's like, bro, nobody ever told you that. You just bring that up because you want to look like Elvis Presley. And here you are embarrassingly putting your face. I mean, I can't. Oh, my days. I wish this segment was over, but it's not over. Ready? So then he crashes out over his poll numbers, and he says, my real polling numbers, not those made up by the fake news media, are the best they've ever been. And why wouldn't they be with the biggest tax cuts and employment numbers ever? What are you talking about? In world history, a totally secure border, a giant victory in Venezuela. Oh, my God. He's literally bragging about abducting a sovereign president and stealing their oil and their gold and keeping it personally. He says, the denuclearization of Iran, unparalleled respect and success throughout the world. Oh, no. Oh, you've got to be kidding. Oh, yeah, everybody loves us right now. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Don't believe the radical left's fake poll numbers. They are crooked and corrupt, just like the country-destroying Democrats are crooked and corrupt. Vote Republican for greatness in America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is classic Trump. So take the truth, flip it on its head, and then ramp up the volume to be arrogant in your denunciation of reality. That's what this is. And this is like the definition of postmodernism. Forget the objective truth. What about my subjective truth that I just made up is what we're looking at here. Okay, ready? So he says this at the same time. I kid you not. Why is he even bothering to say this? Again, you're noticing a theme today. Thou dost protest too much. Because look at this, y'all. Trump's disapproval rating is currently the fourth highest in U.S. history. So George W. Bush was at 69% disapproval in 2008 when we were deep in the financial crisis. Truman was at 67% in 1952 because of the Korean War and inflation. Nixon was at 66% in 1974 because of Watergate. And then Trump is at 60% now, and it's because of the corruption, the tariffs, the Iran war, the economic concerns, okay? So he's now even surpassed Jimmy Carter, whose highest disapproval was 59% in 1979, and that was with energy shortages and inflation. So Trump himself has brought up how everybody hated Jimmy Carter, terrible president, everybody hated Jimmy Carter. You have now surpassed him in how much you are hated. By the way, in chart form, here's what that looks like. So understand something. When I show you this chart, this is what you really need to understand. We're not talking about one poll here. What you're looking at here is the average of the polls. That's what you're looking at. So in other words, in this formulation includes all of the biased right-wing polling outlets that tweak their formula to try to help Trump, to try to help Republicans. Even when you look at their numbers, they have him at 38%, 37%. If he's lucky, maybe he gets a 42 every once in a while. But virtually, 8 out of 10 polls that come out these days have him in the 30s, solidly in the 30s, and most of them in the mid-30s. Now the average of the polls is Trump at a 36% approval rating. And this is exactly why he's crashing out going, it's all fake polls, it's all fake polls. Well, wait a second. I understand Trump saying this. He's done it in the past a million times. When it comes to all the outlets that are nominally liberal or centrist outlets like CNN, for example, or the Associated Press, for example. But like I said, what do you do when this shit includes all of the right-leaning polling outlets? There's nothing you could say. There's nothing you can do. You're just cooked. You're just barbecued. Everybody actually fucking hates you. Jesus Christ. All right, how about this? Ready? So Maggie Haberman spent an hour with Trump in the Oval Office in March and came away with the number. 70% of his mind share, by her estimate, goes to the renovations, the ballroom, the Arc de Trump. He interrupted an unrelated meeting to call Emmanuel Macron and asked what it's like to stand under the actual Arc de Triomphe. Whether it has a visitor's desk, whether people jump off it. Someone had asked him what should go on top of his own version, and Trump was deciding between that and a giant gold cast of his own fist from Butler, the fight thing. By the way, sketchy as fuck, right? And people already have been asking questions about that thing. See, it's strange. They rushed in the camera people at the exact right time. They lowered the flag at the exact right time. Secret Service let him put his head up and present it to a would-be shooter and say, fight. Kind of strange, and now I want to put my fist from that. Strange, isn't it? Meanwhile, nobody around him seems fully certain he understands how depleted American munitions are after this war he started with Iran, a live open question from a reporter who has covered him for a decade. There is no policy agenda left by Haberman's own account. No immigration bill in the works, no legislative program, nothing beyond retribution and construction. He is not governing a country right now so much as decorating a legacy he has already decided he deserves. That's exactly right. But she's saying 70% of the time is the amount of time he's spending thinking about all of his fucking vanity projects, thinking about trying to get his name on Mount Rushmore, putting his face on passports, putting his signature on currency, putting his name on that Florida airport that they just fucking put it on, right? The Trump Kennedy Center, the Epstein Memorial Ballroom. All he cares about, he's skipped all the hard work of a president and actually giving a shit about the people. And he goes, I don't care about the people. I don't care about working as a president here. I'm just going to let the warmongers do warmongering shit. I'm going to let the fascists do fascist shit and throw people in concentration camps. And I'm just going to dress up my pet projects. Insanity is what we're looking at here. This is sheer insanity. My God. And then, by the way, so as all of this is going on, the country's falling apart. The economy is in the shitter. He's losing his illegal war. He's looting and pillaging the U.S. Treasury and the country of Venezuela and a bunch of countries. The corruption is through the roof and out of this world. We've never seen anything like it. The crypto scams and the self-dealing and the government contracts to his own family members. All that shit. What's going on? Look at this from Aaron Rupar. Trump said, the winning shot in the Bedminster Club Championship. Thank you very much to all of those who participated. I won with a score of 70 and am so honored in that, unlike the rest of the field. I've given very little time to practice because I'm focused on many other things. It's called talent, and I have it, and they don't. President Donald J. Trump. Understand something? I'm a golfer, okay? And I'm not bad. I wouldn't say I'm good, but I'm not bad. I'm a 3 handicap, so I'm a relatively low handicap. Been playing all my life. My dad got me into it when I was young. The chance that an 80-year-old man who's obese and doesn't practice shot a 70 on a course which is probably over 6,000 yards and certainly probably over 6,500 or 6,000 yards, there is a 0% chance he shot a 70 in tournament fucking conditions at 80 years old with no practice. 0. That is the kind of number you would see in a fucking PGA Tour event. Like, it's astonishing the amount he fucking tries to get away with. And so here we go. Ron Filipkowski says, Trump allegedly just won his 43rd club championship today at one of his courses. What a sick joke. Listen.
Please join me in congratulating the President of the United States on winning the Super Senior and the Senior Division with a great score of 70.
He won both. That's amazing. Best president of my lifetime. He won. And look at John Cantor. Stalking. John, get away from me, please. John Cantor. Snaggletooth. Get away from Snaggletooth.
Absolutely fucking insane, y'all. Absolutely insane. So as this guy says here, reminder, the only time Trump played a golf tournament where he couldn't cheat, it was the American Century Celebrity Tournament in 2006. That's the one Steph Curry plays in it all the time. Charles Barkley plays in it all the time. I watch it whenever it's on. He shot 52 over par in 3 rounds. This is where you can't cheat. This is what he actually shot. And finished 62nd place out of 80 celebrities. And then, immediately after the tournament, that's when the Stormy Daniels thing happened. That's when he cheated on his wife with a porn star. And wasn't she either pregnant with Barron or Barron was like just born? And he goes and shits the bed in a fucking golf tournament and then sleeps with Stormy Daniels, who now talks about how he has a tiny fucking mushroom cock. This is what's going on. As this country is falling apart, this guy is pretending to win golf club championships. He's spending entire weekends crashing out online and posting AI slop and pretending to win golf tournaments as his country falls apart right in front of everybody's face. What a fucking disgrace this guy is. Let me explain something to you. We do not have a country if this guy doesn't end up in prison. He needs to end up in prison at some point for the rank criminality. They want to talk about the Biden crime family. Don't talk to me about the Biden crime. It's the motherfucking Trump crime family to the max, and everybody fucking knows it.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So Trump is absolutely panicking over this illegal war of aggression that he launched against Iran. We're at the point now where this thing has spiraled out of control. Trump not only lost the war, but I think that deep down he knows he did. He feels like he did. He doesn't know how to adjust, how to react. And it is getting terrifying, okay? So the other day he comes out and does the thing, we're going to annihilate the entire civilization. We're going to destroy them. We're going to do the biggest bombing raid we've ever done since World War II. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be terrible. We're going to go after their civilian targets. So he comes out and does one of those things. This is now a recurring thing. He's done it on a regular basis, where every now and then he'll make this grandiose threat and taco and back down, or he'll make a grandiose threat and then deliver on it and attack their schools and their hospitals and their bridges and their power plants. But he was threatening to make it atrocious this time around. Now, I'm going to get to the specifics in a second, but he backed down. After backing down, Iran comes out and says, Trump is claiming that we are negotiating now. We're not negotiating. That's bullshit. We're not doing that at all. So here we go again. I mean, how many times have we been through this cycle? And the reason is they're insider trading like a motherfucker. Iran estimates that Trump and his cronies have made roughly $9 billion off just the insider trading around the war. That's to say nothing about the insider trading, around the trade war and the tariffs, for example. That's probably another couple billion on that front. Or the insider trading around him, announcing how much he loves a Dell computer, and then Dell computer stock goes up, and they make a shitload of money, and then you find out Trump put millions of dollars into Dell. I mean, it's insane what we're witnessing. But look at this. Let me walk you through this. So Dropsite News says the following. Video and satellite imagery and weapons analysis indicate the U.S. dropped a 2,000-pound bomb on a family home in a densely populated residential neighborhood on Iran's Keshem Island overnight on Thursday, the New York Times reported. The strike killed a husband, wife, and their 2-year-old son. 2 other children, now orphaned, were pulled alive from the rubble. The report says evidence raises serious questions about why one of the U.S. military's largest conventional bombs was used in a residential area and whether the use is consistent with international law. Well, let me go ahead and answer that for you right now. It is not. And let me also answer why they did it. They are terrorists. They literally do not care about civilian casualties. That's why they bombed the little girls' school and killed 160 little girls. That's also why they bombed the kids' hospital. That's also why they bomb power plants and bridges. They keep doing this because it's what they want to do. They don't look at Iranians as equal human beings. They don't care. They would kill, you know the idea, we're going to kill all of them to free them. If we have to kill every last one of them to free them, we're going to do that. It's all bullshit. It's all about power. It's all about natural resources. It's all about regional domination by Israel. That's what this comes down to. So, no, it's not. It's not in line with international law, and they don't fucking care. They're in the midst of a battle to dismantle the entire International Criminal Court right now. Does that sound like people who care about international law? Not remotely. Not remotely. So absolutely disturbing stuff. So here's the crater that the 2,000-pound bomb created. This is the crater that it created. They knew it was a residential area. Let me repeat, they don't care. In fact, the thing that Trump said we're definitely not going to hit is the oil infrastructure on Keshem Island and Karg Island, because he wants to be able to waltz in there and steal that bitch when he tries to take control of all of Iran. So he would care more about that than he does about the innocent people who live there who got fucking vaporized. This is like when Israel and Gaza started using thermobaric vacuum bombs, which literally vaporize you instantly. It's like they're testing new ways to be sadistic Nazi terrorists, and that's what they're doing. So as this is going on, look at this. Pretty scathing comments about the Iran war in a New York Times article this morning. Robert Niblett, former director of the Chatham House, called it a strategic loss and an embarrassment, adding, for U.S. allies and those who rely on the U.S. for security, this is confirmation that you can't trust the United States. He continued, quote, people won't forget that their security and their future were dragged into question by an unpredictable and wavering U.S. foreign policy. Ali Vaez, the Iran project director for the International Crisis Group, said, quote, this is the crisis of credibility of the U.S. Neither its military prowess nor its diplomatic promises can be trusted. Aaron David Miller, a former American negotiator and now a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, said the conflict has undermined U.S. deterrence and credibility, antagonized American allies, and delighted its adversaries. That's exactly right. This is literally like the Trump regime shooting itself in the dick repeatedly. Not just shooting itself in the dick, shooting itself in the dick, the balls, both legs, and the ass. I mean, that's what it is. Because our word means nothing anymore, and we don't have the ability to just override people with our power and our dominance, because the fact of the matter is, we are built with this massive military budget to fight war like it's permanently 1985, and it's simply not 1985 anymore. And so what happens? Well, that's where, our standing as the world's sole superpower is crashing right in front of us at record pace. That's what's happening. So now you have multiple experts coming out saying the same thing. Oh, yeah, the U.S. lost the war. It's over. It's done. There is nothing the U.S. can do to win this war at this point. It won't happen. It's not going to happen. Hormuz letter says, breaking, just 10 minutes before futures markets open, Trump claimed there's a deal on Hormuz and there will be a deal on denuclearization, with the U.S. talking to them in the form of a negotiation and Iran negotiations to begin Monday afternoon. Then Iran, of course, immediately rejects that. But this is Trump going, oh shit, gotta try to fix the markets and insider trade. So, we're having great talks with them. It looks like a deal's on the horizon. And this is what he came out and said. The USA is locked and loaded and ready to go against the Islamic Republic of Iran at levels of military terror. He's literally like saying, I'm a terrorist. Terror, strength, and power not seen since World War II. Despite this, we have just been asked by Iran and other Middle Eastern countries to hold off any attack and that the perimeters of a deal has been agreed to. This would include the immediate, complete, and total opening of the Hormuz Strait and an end to Iran's nuclear threat. Based on this request, I have agreed for the future benefit of the world, and likewise the survival of a successful and prosperous Iran, to cancel the attack, subject to being able to rapidly make a deal. The country of Israel joins me in this commitment. Get to work, everybody, and get it done. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Like, we're at the point now where the people who are falling for this shit still are fucking cattle. Like, you are a literal lemming, brainless ass bitch. The fact that, the people trading on the marketplace, like, all of a sudden you see oil tank, like the price of oil tank. It's like, how fucking stupid are you people? How stupid are you people? All right. Breaking, Iran directly rejects Trump's new claim that Iran has asked for a deal and seeks to agree to it by reopening the Strait of Hormuz, saying, quote, there is no agreement regarding the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, adding the U.S.-backed Qatari proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is false, and Israeli Channel 12's claim that Iran FM Arakchi accepted the deal is also completely false. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz remains fully closed under any circumstances, with passage only through the designated route with IRGC Navy permission. No changes have been made to Iran's policy. Iran adds every U.S. threat is treated as real, with Iran not backing down and instead using Trump's ceasefire period to raise combat readiness and strengthen deterrence. We're going to get to it in just a second, but the U.S. tried to sneak some more shit through the Strait of Hormuz, not through the approved path, and they got lit the fuck up, ski. All right, more. Breaking. Mohammed Mokhber, advisor to Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, responds to Trump's announced infrastructure strikes, warning attacking Iran's infrastructure will directly trigger geological fractures on which your hegemony has been built for 250 years. When the pillars of this system collapse, there will be neither a command center nor a market to plunder. Iran's Parliament National Security Committee spokesperson Rezai adds, Iran will respond to all enemy bases and the source of attacks from anywhere, with Iran's response not limited to the Persian Gulf region. In other words, we'll fuck up. If you come after us, we're going to fuck up all your motherfucking infrastructure in all the Gulf Arab states, and we might go after people not just in the Persian Gulf region. So if you're using like European bases, for example, well, they can watch the fuck out too. They can get these hands too. Then we have this. So you had a U.S. general came out and warned that the Pentagon lacks sufficient forces to protect Israel. Trita Parsi says, I see three plausible explanations for the U.S. saying this. Number one, this is a genuine attempt at preventing a likely U.S. escalation in the making. Number two, this is intended to give Trump a way out. Trump can continue to portray himself as tough and willing to take the fight, but the problem is with military readiness. Number three, this is a deception and aimed at lulling Tehran into a false sense of security, only for Trump and Netanyahu to attack Iran in a major escalation in short order. Okay, but then you also have this. Sam Husseini says, or option four, it's setting up a nuclear threat. We can't defend Israel from these savages, you see. A nuke is the only method of self-defense. But now we have to speculate about shit like this because we're dealing with the axis of Epstein, which is so completely and utterly out of control that anything's on the table. Literally anything and everything is on the table. Okay. Israeli authorities mark a new Trump Board of Peace agreement with massive strikes targeting residential blocks in Gaza in the middle of the night. So Trump comes out and a bunch of idiots come out and they go, we have a new, oh my God, with our Board of Peace, which is nothing but a giant scam, we got a new deal where Hamas is going to put away their big weapons and we're getting peace for Gaza and we're going to rebuild Gaza. We have this new agreement that everybody's on board with. You got Hamas on board with it. Israel's on board with it. Everybody's on board with this. So they come out and do that. And then literally immediately this happens. So understand this is standard operating procedure for the Israelis. I just posted. Remember when they did the fake ceasefire agreement between Israel and Gaza? And then what happened immediately after Israel kept attacking, they've killed over 1,000 people since the fake ceasefire. Okay? Israel's idea of a ceasefire is you cease, we fire. And so now Trump gets another peace deal with his board of peace. Total scam, just robbing billions of dollars, right? Nonsense. And then Israel goes, oh yeah, we're on board with it. Immediately starts bombing Gaza yet again. Israel bombs Gaza, kills Palestinians hours after Trump declares historic breakthrough. Within hours of President Donald Trump announcing a new agreement, new Israeli bombings and gunfire attacks killed at least one Palestinian, wounded several others in Gaza, medical authorities told outlets. Gaza relief coordinator Iyad Amawi told Dropsite News that Israeli forces also ordered the forced displacement of whole residential blocks in 2 different locations. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, like, what is there even left to say at this point when you look at this carnage, when you look at this devastation? Hormuz letter says, breaking, a tanker has been targeted by Iran northeast of Qasab, Oman, with the UK MTO officially confirming the incident. The most likely target was the tanker Velos Amber, attempting to pass through the southern route in the Strait of Hormuz under U.S. cover more than an hour ago. So again, they are forced, hey, if you're going to use the Strait of Hormuz, you're going to use our way and pay our toll. That's what Iran is insisting on at the moment. The Financial Times confirms that the U.S. has withdrawn its presence from Kuwait and Bahrain after Iranian attacks. The U.S. is now fighting at a pace that's set by Iran. If I'm not mistaken, they also did this with Iraq. So, I mean, look, they are like, they're draxing us. They're draxing us. They're smacking us up and down and all around. And deep down, Trump knows that, which is why he's panicking. And when Trump is in a corner, he panics and he acts rashly, more rashly than normal. And that's why he bombed a toddler, dropped a 2,000-pound bomb on a residential area, murdering a family. And you have experts going, the war is lost. What the fuck are you doing? Well, in that moment, what he's deciding to do is panic, commit war crimes, and insider trade day in and day out. But make no mistake about it, he has no idea what the fuck to do, and we still have a looming economic crash as a direct result of his actions. And then finally, to show you just how lost they are, look at this. A U.S. Central Command officer reportedly emailed a large group of military analysts last week requesting new, creative, and unconventional ways to pressure and punish Iran, according to CNN. The email sent to a broad distribution list sought fresh proposals for increasing pressure on Tehran as the Trump administration considers its next steps. According to CNN, multiple sources described the mass brainstorming request as highly unusual, reflecting CENTCOM's efforts to develop additional military and strategic options against Iran. In other words, these motherfuckers are in a corner. They know they lost the war, and so they're going, I don't know, bro. If we go guns blazing and start dropping Moabs or nukes or doing all sorts of shit like that, they're just going to destroy all the civilian infrastructure in the Gulf Arab countries and make those countries unlivable, creating a new refugee crisis and effectively ending the war completely and locking down the Strait of Hormuz permanently. If we do nothing, we're also cooked because we lost our standing as the world's sole superpower because we can't control free and open maritime trade anymore. Does anybody have any creative ideas as to how we can get them back in a unique way where they don't respond and level all of the civilian infrastructure in the Gulf Arab countries? They're so lost. They're now asking people lower on the chain to, hey, y'all got any ideas? Anything at all? That's how lost they are. This is probably the biggest humiliation in modern U.S. history that we're witnessing, and they somehow keep dragging it out and making it worse on a daily basis.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So the cracks of an economic crisis are beginning to show, and they're beginning to show aggressively at the moment. So take a look at this. Massive crash in Japan. The US dollar and the Japanese yen plunged from 164 to 157 after Japan spent $52.8 billion defending the yen, and the US Treasury joined by selling euros to buy yen. This was America's first yen intervention since 1998. It seems like a yen carry trade unwind could happen soon. So take a look at this. The Japanese yen absolutely tanks, straight line down, market turns red instantly. This is a big deal. Okay. Bar chart says they're trying so hard to save the Japanese yen. So you can see here, the Bank of Japan intervened initially when the yen was tanking like this. Then they went, holy fucking shit, that's not working. We need the US to intervene. And then the US Treasury intervened to save the yen. And guess what? After all of that, Japanese yields are surging despite the combined intervention of Besant, the Treasury Secretary, and the Bank of Japan. Besant is now trying to keep oil prices, the yen, and Japanese yields in check at the same time. Despite spending billions, the yen carry trade is still blowing up. Oh my days, oh my word. That is fucking terrifying. So let me explain this to you in simple terms here. Okay, so what are the issues that we're dealing with in the Japanese economy? Well, they have low domestic interest rates. So the Bank of Japan has kept its interest rate very low relative to other countries at just 1%. Now, at the same time that's happening, you have high global rates. So central banks like the Federal Reserve in the US, they've maintained rates that are between 3.5% and 3.75%, in that range there. And so that means investors are borrowing money cheaply in Japan. They sell the yen and buy foreign assets to lock in higher returns, which drives the yen's value down. Then, here's the part that shouldn't surprise any of you, as a direct result of Trump's illegal war against Iran, okay, now there's an oil crisis in Japan. Japan imports most of its energy, almost all of its energy. So with surging global oil prices, because the Strait of Hormuz is shut down, because Bab el-Mandeb is shut down, because Trump's a fucking idiot, okay, that forces the country to sell yen for US dollars to pay for what is basically essential for the country to continue functioning. So you have all of that, plus Japan holds a massive public debt to GDP ratio. And that debt has not been an issue to this point, but now adding in the oil crisis on top of it and the interest rate issue is becoming a massive concern, and it's leading to cracks in the system. So not good, bro. Not good. So that's why, by the way, that's why they're reluctant to raise interest rates, because doing so would make its own debt repayment too expensive. So that's why they have those low interest rates. So it's sort of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're in a corner, there's no good answers type thing here. And they're basically holding the system together with bubble gum and duct tape. And we're just waiting for a crash any fucking day now, like a serious crash any fucking day now, which could be the catalyst for a global economic recession or depression. We knew there were going to be massive consequences to this illegal war against Iran and this oil shock, but now it looks like they're really starting to come to fruition. And then I also need to point out to you, ready for this? The U.S. simply can't afford this war, and the market knows it. Normally, during times of crisis, investors seek safety in bonds, especially U.S. treasuries, supposedly the safest asset in the world. But this time is different. Investors are looking at $40 trillion in debt, $120 trillion in unfunded liabilities, $2 trillion annual deficits, debt issuance growing about 8% per year since 2000, and 10-year yields approaching 5%. You can't enter a major war with debt to GDP above its World War II peak and expect the rest of the world to finance it, especially when it's becoming increasingly obvious that you're losing. It's not only that, people run away from the dollar now, and they run away from U.S. treasuries now for the simple reason that Trump is not reliable. Trump is not trustworthy. Trump is not good to his word. Our word means dick now. It means fuck all. And so, of course, there's going to be, people fleeing away from the dollar at 1,000 miles an hour because we're not a reliable partner, and we have no business being the world reserve currency. But the even scarier part is this. The bond market carnage just won't stop. The bond market in the U.S., yields are moving in a literal straight line higher. At what point does the Trump administration intervene or shift course? It happened in April 2025 and can happen again. And so you can see here, the bond market is out of control. The U.S. 30-year note yield is now up to 5.27%, its highest level since June 2007. This officially marks a plus 450 basis point rally since the low seen in 2020. At the current pace, we are on track to see U.S. 30-year mortgage rates exceed 7.50 by year end. And to top it all off, Federal Chair Warsh is now adamant that the market should operate independently without Fed guidance. Even without rate hikes or Fed guidance, the market is sending rates higher, operating exactly how Fed Chair Warsh wants it to operate. The bond market will soon be the most talked about component of global capital markets. This is simply not sustainable. So, in other words, we are now looking at the same kind of crisis that I just described in Japan. Not the oil part of it necessarily, but it now costs too much to pay the interest on our debt. And our currency is losing value. People are running away from it. And so in that scenario, It could be inflation, it could be hyperinflation. Something's going to give, like something in the market. There's going to be a crash. And Crystal made this point the other day. I think it's brilliant. She said something's going to be the catalyst for the crash that nobody was expecting. Right? I mean, I guess you could say if the Japanese market completely implodes, that could be it. But also there's going to be something in the US that, also could be just like how it was subprime mortgages in 2008. Something's going to give, and then that's going to have a cascading effect, and it's going to be total economic catastrophe. And we're being led by baboon fucking jackasses, and so there's no way they're going to know what to do in that scenario. But this is what we're looking at now. There is a looming Trump depression, and make no mistake about it, there were systemic issues in the global economy that have been around for a very long time. There's no doubt about that. However, the fundamentals being all off, all these things got exacerbated when Trump launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The Strait of Hormuz shut down. Now Bab el-Mandeb is shut down. The entire world is blowing through their strategic reserves. We're getting to the bottom of that. That's like the core of what's going to lead to the disaster here, right? And it's going to be a snowball effect. It's going to be out of control. And we're beginning to see the cracks now. There is a looming Trump depression, and everybody needs to wake up to that reality. All right, how about this one? So at the same time that's going on, ready? So CNN made a fantastic and searchable and expandable chart showing how the prices of 332 products have increased or decreased, mostly increased, since Trump returned to office. So look at this. All items, food plus 4.2%, food at home plus 3.4%, food away from home plus 5.4%. Energy is up 13.1%. All items except food and energy up 3.5%. So they got this list here that goes on and on. How about this one? Prices since the start of the year. Rice is up 45%, cotton up 27%, wheat up 25%, wool up 21%, rubber up 20%, cheese up 16%, tea up 15%, sunflower oil up 15%, palm oil up 15%, lumber up 14%, soybeans up 13%. Yet again, you're going to hear this word a lot moving forward. Simply not sustainable. None of this is sustainable. Rough times ahead, bro. Rough times ahead. It's all happening. It's all happening. The question is the timing. I don't know when exactly. I don't know what exactly the catalyst will be, but there are dark times ahead, and we're beginning to see the start of it now.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, I got to tell you this story, and let me tell you up front, this shit is crazy. It's so crazy, it feels like a movie plot, but it's not. It's real life. The Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez is very well known for being pro-Palestine. And he said many things that, I would agree with, many of you would agree with, but he sticks out like a sore thumb among U.S. vassal states. Okay, so most of the European U.S. vassal states are, loyalist and sycophantic to Trump and to the U.S., and they're incredibly cucked. And they go along with all the fucking terrorism in Gaza, and they back Israel no matter what. Well, Spain is sort of standing up in a similar way that, Ireland has a history of standing up for Palestinians. Shout out to Ireland. But so this guy came out, he said the following, quote, "We will submit a proposal to terminate all partnership agreements between the European Union and Israel. A state, Israel, that violates international law cannot be a partner in the European Union, nor will it be." So now he's trying to bring it into the policy world. Hey, not only am I going to have some words that are anti-Israel, I'm going to say they shouldn't even be in the fucking European Union. No partnership agreements with them, with the European Union. And, they need to be held fucking accountable. So this is based as shit. But guess what? This led to a tremendous amount of backlash. So listen to what Trump says here. He gave a speech, and pay close attention to the implication of this. Here we go.
The Spanish. They're members of NATO, but not very good members of NATO. They say, no, we don't want to help other people. What are we doing, huh?
Now, when he says we don't want to help other people, keep in mind, he's talking about Israel, okay?
They are not behaving nicely, but they will learn.
They are not behaving nicely, but they'll learn. You know how I call this country now a mobocracy? Well, here you go. This is what it looks like. This is the mob boss. They'll learn. I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse. Really? Well, what is it you have planned, Don? What is it you have planned? Well, over the weekend, quite a story broke. It's a very bizarre story. What happened was you had a bunch of refugees flee from Morocco and go into Spain, Spanish territory, which is right by Morocco, called Ceuta, okay? And it was a lot. It was like thousands, maybe tens of thousands that just showed up all at once, like in a coordinated fashion, like that. They all showed up. Ceuta is very small, and you had thousands or tens of thousands of Moroccan refugees show up out of nowhere. Okay, well, that's weird. Well, now let me show you what this looks like on a map. So here's Ceuta, here's Morocco, and it was all at once, thousands or tens of thousands of people showed up at Ceuta. They obviously don't even have like the basic capacity to be able to help. They don't have the infrastructure, they don't have, the food, they don't have the water, they don't have all the resources that would be needed to accommodate refugees, right? Okay. Well, take a look at this. Breaking, Trump sends a letter today to Morocco's king to confirm that the U.S. joins Israel in recognizing Morocco's control over Western Sahara only a day after the orchestrated invasion on Spain, confirming U.S.-Israeli involvement. So, in other words, this was Trump and Netanyahu working together with another vassal state of theirs, the government of Morocco, to say, go ahead and do it. Pull the trigger, go for it. Basically do an invasion of Ceuta, which is Spanish territory, and declare it for yourself. Now, not only is this getting back at Spain for being pro-Palestine, right? There's another angle to this as well. Let me show you the map again. So take a look at this. You'll notice Ceuta is right by the Strait of Gibraltar. The Strait of Gibraltar connects the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. It is a crucial passageway for global trade. Israel and the U.S. feared that if Spain really wanted to get ballsy, they could stand up to Israel and say, now you can't go through the Strait of Gibraltar either, right? So Iran shuts down the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis in Yemen shut down Bab el-Mandeb. Now they're worried, what if Spain says you can't use the Strait of Gibraltar because they're war criminals who commit genocide and are fighting 7 different wars at once against all their fucking neighboring countries? What if Spain is really about that life and they try to shut down the Strait of Gibraltar? We can't have that. Therefore, invade Ceuta and take over their control of the Strait of Gibraltar with Morocco, a more loyal vassal state. That's what this is. It is not a refugee crisis. It's not. I'm pro-refugee. This is not a refugee crisis. This is a coordinated invasion, ladies and gentlemen. It's a coordinated invasion, and it's being done on purpose. Okay, don't believe me? Look at this. Clash Report says, several Moroccans said police encouraged them to cross into Ceuta, with some officers telling migrants, go that way, come to Spain. And they have multiple examples in this piece. It was planned, it was orchestrated, it was done on purpose, it was done because the Spanish government is pro-Palestine, and it was done because they wanted to take over control of the Strait of Gibraltar so they could keep a vital trade route open and not have to worry about Spain closing it. This is the sort of stuff that world wars are made of, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. Analysts at Israel-funded think tanks argued back in April that Israel should help Morocco take over Ceuta in order to punish Spain. The trail is there, bro. Here is the text from U.S. Congressional Report back in April stating for the first time, quote, Ceuta and Melilla are located in Moroccan territory and remain the subject of Morocco's long-standing claim. It calls on Secretary of State Marco Rubio to facilitate that status change. So, in other words, when nobody was paying attention, Congress got in on the fun too and said, hey, let's steal this territory from Spain and give it to Morocco so we can continue to please Netanyahu and Israel and continue to crack down on countries that are pro-Palestine. And Congress got in on it too, basically trying to steal the territory of Ceuta from Spain because they're being disobedient. Hey, you're not bending the knee to the imperialists and to the fascists and for the genocide. And as a direct result of that, we're just going to fucking steal your territory. That's what we're going to do. Now, ready for this? To add insult to injury, like I said, this is not a refugee crisis. It's an invasion. There's a difference. If there's a refugee crisis, it's an organic refugee crisis. I'm all in favor of helping refugees. I'm pro-refugee. I'm pro-immigrant, right? This is not that. So here's CBS News. Video footage shows hundreds of migrants crossing into Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta on Thursday, with many entering on foot or by sea. So look at this video. Look at this video.
Ya que mucha gente alrededor.
Now, these poor people are being used as pawns in a global chess game where the Moroccan government, the U.S. government, and the Israeli government don't give a fuck about them. They don't care at all. In fact, they go on to say in the reporting, when these people got there, they went, what the fuck? There's no food, there's no shelter, there's no jobs, there's no nothing. What the fuck? Why was I told to come here? They're not blaming Spain. They're not blaming Ceuta. They're blaming Morocco and, by extension, the U.S. and Israel for saying, hey, go there. Okay? Look at this, adding insult to injury. You can't make this up. The Department of Homeland Security says, if Spain had their own President Trump, this wouldn't be an issue. Citizens of Spain should take that into consideration. Are you fucking kidding me? Your obese, fascist, terrorist, death cult president is the one who helped orchestrate this shit. He's behind it. He's not the savior. Don't conflate this issue with immigration writ large and with refugees writ large. This is a planned invasion for payback because Spain is pro-Palestine. You sick, disgusting fucks. By the way, you want to talk about sick, disgusting fucks? Look at this. So a bunch of deranged Zionist, neocon, warhawk, genocidal freaks are now mocking Spain over this, and note what they're getting at here. This guy says, 2 states for 2 nations, living side by side in peace and prosperity. Oh, you guys need to do a 2-state solution. Spain and Morocco need to split Spain now. What's wrong with you guys? Obviously, that's what you need to do. Here's Yair Netanyahu, who's Benjamin Netanyahu's son, who's on a beach in Miami sipping mojitos as his dad is mass murdering Palestinian toddlers, okay? And he posted this one, another, Spain 2-state solution. So Morocco and Spain need to now split mainland Spain. You see what they're doing here? Well, here's the problem. In the same way that Israel fucking waltzed in 1948 and just declared, this is ours now, and stole it from Palestinians, you guys are the aggressors. You guys are the ones who showed up after the fact. By the same token, the invasion being done by the U.S., Israel, and Morocco that started fucking yesterday, they showed up 7 seconds ago. So you're really making the opposite of the point you think you're making. In reality, Israel is actually Palestine, and it should be Palestine, right? Like, you're the fucking fake country that came in later. And as of right now, this is Ceuta. This is Spain. Just because you come yesterday and try to pretend like there's some sort of dispute, there's not. It's made up. It's fake. In the same way that it was made up and fake in fucking 1948 when the UN, which existed for 7 seconds, was like, I'm just going to give away half of Palestinian land, steal from Palestinians, and just give it to the Israelis. Insanity. Insanity. They think they're making a good-ass point about how Palestinian rights are stupid and there should be no 2-state solution. In reality, they're just exposing how they're the bad guys. They've always been the bad guys. And Israel was made up like that in 1948 and stolen from Palestine. And now you have an invasion of people trying to steal Ceuta from Spain. Insane. Absolutely fucking insane. And again, you cannot overstate how important it is that it's right by the Strait of Gibraltar, and they're scared of that being shut down also. They're scared of totally locking in Israel, not allowing them to do any sort of trade whatsoever, alienating them, isolating them, making it so that the country effectively falls apart. Absolutely wild stuff, bro. But a planned, orchestrated invasion of a country because they dare to stand up for Palestine. This is what happens. If you don't bend the knee, this is what ends up happening. Absolutely pathetic, absolutely disgusting. Trump is criminal for doing this. Netanyahu is criminal for doing this. Marco Rubio is criminal for doing this. And the Moroccan government is a pathetic, cheap, vassal state, and they're criminals as well for doing this. And I feel bad for all those people that they duped and sent there when they had no business doing that whatsoever.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all. So we have Abdul El Sayed's race is tomorrow. That's right. The Michigan U.S. Senate Democratic primary is tomorrow. It is not looking good for Haley Stevens, bro. It is really not looking good. I mean, I've seen the last 3 polls I've seen, you have Abdul up double digits. There's some speculation now that Haley Stevens' own internal pollster said to her, you have no path to victory. Goddamn. There's one poll that had Abdul up either 17 or 18 points, y'all. 17 or 18 points. So just incredible stuff. And look, he can't stop winning. He's on a victory streak here. One appearance is better than the next. So he goes on MS Now, and you have this reporter who I've never seen this woman before. I don't even know who she is. And bro, she tries to play the gotcha game with Abdul and basically trip him up and sort of low-key smear him and sort of subtly accuse him of being an anti-Semite. And he handles this masterfully. Listen to this. Here we go.
The campaign has been largely and loudly populist, but also anti-Zionist. And you've sort of married those two things, equating funding for Israel with underfunding healthcare, for example. Are you worried that framing, juxtaposing the Jewish funding for the Jewish state against the needs of, in your own words, our own people, echoes an old anti-Semitic trope?
They've asked the same question 78,000 times in the exact same way, and they're doing it because they want to bias it up front, and they want to plant the seed in your mind, like maybe he is anti-Semitic. That's why they do it. They don't even care about the answer. They don't even want the answer. They just want to be, well, maybe you're anti-Semitic for talking about this as you do. So they're saying, perhaps it's an anti-Semitic argument to say, let's stop sending billions of dollars to Israel. Let's instead fund our healthcare here and our education here. They're going, don't you think that might be anti-Semitic framing? How the fuck is that anti-Semitic framing? So now it's anti-Semitic to not send Israel our tax dollars? Why would that be anti-Semitic? Is it Islamophobic to not send our tax dollars to Saudi Arabia? Like, what are you talking about? But he handles it brilliantly. Here we go.
Let me just be very, very clear. You know who benefits from guaranteed health care in this country? Jewish Americans. The idea that somehow we are going to use the specter of anti-Semitism to defend what a foreign government is doing actually does a deep disservice to the well-being of Jewish Americans in this country. Judaism and the Jewish people are a light unto the world, beautiful faith, beautiful people. The contributions that they've made to this country alone are staggering. And I'm looking forward to standing with the Jewish community against anti-Semitism. After all, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are one in the same, and we need to take them on. But we cannot sit idly by and ask, why is it that our $3.3 billion a year at baseline is used to fund apartheid at baseline, genocide over the last several years, a war we have no business fighting, with the attempt to annex the southern part of a neighboring country, and then wonder why our kids' schools look like they did 50 years ago? The reality of this is that we cannot
you haven't
continue.
made that same trade-off argument with regards to other items in the U.S.'s $800 billion
I have. You just
budget.
don't cover it. No, I have. You just don't cover it. I'll say.
Oh, man. You can tell he's actually pissed off because she's asserting something there very strongly. And he's like, no, I have. And you just don't fucking care about it. You don't cover it because you're looking for anti-Semitism everywhere to smear me.
In the U.S.'s $800 billion
I have. You just
budget.
don't cover it. No, I have. You just don't cover it. I'll say the same thing about the money we send to Egypt, which is where my family comes from. So if you want to go ahead and call me anti-Egyptian, go ahead and do that. But the reality is that on principle, I don't think we should be sending unconditional foreign military aid to any government because none of us actually pay our tax dollars.
On principle, then, are you against ethno-religious states writ large?
On principle, I absolutely am.
Oh, no. They tried to do this to Ilhan Omar, too, back in the day, where they were like, oh, yeah? You want to do BDS against Israel? Well, would you also want to do BDS against Saudi Arabia? And she goes, yes. It's like, okay, there you go. Yes, ethno-states are bad. Apartheid is bad. It's bad across the board. In my ideal world, every state would be a secular democracy with human rights, with constitutional rights. Every state would fit that mold. Okay? I mean, the fact that she really thought she freaked it and she really thought she was going to catch him in a gotcha. And look at his face. He just fucking insta-truth mogged her. I mean, that was brutal. Like, stop. Okay, here's my advice to all these reporters and journalists, I use that term loosely. Stop trying to play the gotcha game against people who clearly know what the fuck they're talking about. If you're trying to go after a lefty or a DSA person, somebody who really is well-versed in the issues, your gotcha is never going to work. Because Abdul actually has a worldview. He has an ideology. He has beliefs. He knows how to defend those beliefs. If you try to, imply he believes something he doesn't, he's going to shred that shit. He's going to shred it, and it's going to be effortless. And that's exactly what happened here. So, and by the way, this is why he's leading by double digits. This exact line of questioning is the thing that backfired. Every time Abdul opened his mouth, he would always repeat the same line, bro. He would always say, look, I just want to stop sending all of our money and all these weapons to Israel for them to bomb kids and commit a genocide. I want to take that money and I want to spend it here on Medicare for all. I want your wages to go up. The number of times he said that and the number of different ways he got that same point across, it's endless. And then, I don't know if you guys saw this, they did one of those word bubble charts, like the bigger the word, the more people associate that with Haley Stevens. Everything was like, it was like AIPAC, Israel. How Abdul framed Haley Stevens is how the public now thinks of her. Like, anytime you bring up Haley Stevens, Democratic voters go, oh yeah, the one who's bought by AIPAC. Because he kept mentioning these things over and over. Whereas when voters were asked about him, people immediately thought, like, Medicare for all, higher wages, right? Like, so the fact that he repeated this over and over, it was his superpower. And the fact that the media kept trying to attack him on these grounds, it helped him, right? It's sort of like that question they asked Zoran when he was running for mayor. Hey, where would you visit if, when you're mayor, where's the first place you're going to visit? And everybody on the debate stage said, Israel, I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Israel and Ukraine. I'm making my 37th trip to Israel. And then it gets to Zoran, and Zoran goes, yeah, I'm going to stay in New York because I'm mayor of New York, and that's sort of where my job is. And they go, would you even travel to Israel? And he's like, no. They're like, oh, how dare you? And they try to accuse him of being anti-Semite, and it just backfired because normal people watch that and go, I don't know, he seems kind of normal, and that seems like a good answer, and you guys seem kind of obsessed with Israel. Like, what the fuck? And this is exactly what's happening in the Abdul race in a slightly different way. Okay, now, this is exactly what I was just talking about. Ready? When you bring up Abdul El Sayed, people think Medicare, money, support, progress, women, and, there's a bunch of smaller ones there. When you bring up Haley Stevens, it's money, AIPAC, Israel. Like, in other words, Abdul was able to effectively define himself and effectively define Haley Stevens, and the stuff about him is good and the stuff about Haley Stevens is bad. Okay, we also just learned this. According to CNN, Chuck Schumer has been engaged in a prolonged effort to stop Abdul El Sayed winning the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate in Michigan. Schumer's first choice to succeed Peters was term-limited Governor Gretchen Whitmer. He always preferred candidates who won statewide previously, but she shut him down completely. For months, Schumer and Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee Chair Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York made their unofficial backing of Stevens clear, inviting her to donor events and directing other support her way. Gillibrand even went so far as suggesting to several donors, ominously, that Mallory McMorrow, who was the other candidate who had dropped out, had been a member of DSA, even though McMorrow isn't. So in other words, the point that they're making here is Mallory McMorrow tried to sort of split the difference between Abdul and Haley Stevens and go, I'm not like psycho pro-Israel, but I'm like a liberal Zionist, whereas Abdul's like, I'm anti-Zionist. And so if the establishment was smarter, they probably would have backed McMorrow as having a more decent chance to win versus Haley Stevens. I still don't think she would have won. I think Abdul's a phenomenal candidate and he would have pulled it out anyway, but maybe it would have been a closer race if they went with McMorrow. But Schumer and the Democratic elites were so convinced they could just shove whatever candidate they want down Democratic voters' throats. Guess what, bitch? It's no longer 2018. You can't do that. The base is furious. The base is pissed off. Now they vote with their heart and their head. They don't just go with, whatever the fucking party elites tell them. And so this backfired massively. And what you're seeing here is the Democratic Party is losing control of the voting base in a way that's glorious, in a way that's amazing. It really is our version of the Tea Party, except the difference is the Republican Tea Party was full of a bunch of psychos and freaks who were wrong about everything, and the Democratic Tea Party is filled with a bunch of awesome people who are right about everything. And so it's phenomenal to see this unfold, but they were working behind the scenes. By the way, this is how you know. Don't let people shame you for attacking the Democratic establishment. Because the fact of the matter is, they're the ones who started it. They're the ones who destroyed party unity. They could have just stayed out of the Michigan primary completely. Instead, they were waging a stealth war behind the scenes in favor of Haley Stevens and against Abdul. And so when I come out and point out the reason why Chuck Schumer's doing that is because Chuck Schumer has openly said, my job is to keep the Democratic Party pro-Israel. So he was conspiring against not just Abdul, but by extension, 80-90% of the Democratic voting base, because 80-90% of the Democratic voting base is done with Israel's bullshit. They want to stop sending them money and weapons. They think Israel's committing a genocide because they are. And so if they are crossing the base and being undemocratic and trying to, in an authoritarian way, keep the Democratic politicians pro-Israel, you should go after them over that. I'm not attacking party unity by going after them. He attacked party unity by waging this stealth campaign against Abdul in the first place and by extension against Democratic voters in the first place. Race is on Tuesday. If you're in Michigan, get your ass out there and vote for Abdul El Sayed. I want him to end up winning by double digits so that nobody can fucking say anything else. Oh, he underperformed. And then the other thing is, we got to bust our ass cheeks in order to defeat Mike Rogers because listen, the establishment gets the grace of being able to fail 1,000 times over, and they win once, and then they go, aha, we were right about everything, right? But when left-wing candidates start winning, we need to win everything after that against Republicans, because the first time a left-wing candidate loses, they're immediately going to go, should have went with the centrist, should have went with the establishment one, should have went with the pro-Israel one, what's wrong with you guys? And so we need to deliver. We will not get the grace and leeway that the establishment candidates get when they lose. We will be blamed for every single motherfucking loss and credited for none of the fucking wins. So let's go out there and win every single one of these things. As hard as we worked to get him through the primary, we got to work even harder to get him through the general because Senator Abdul El Sayed has a fucking nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So some of the more establishment and corporate-y type Democrats are beginning to panic over the rise of DSA and the left. And now there's been a number of ascendant left-wing candidates who ended up winning, not only like Zoran in New York, but you also have like Malat Kiros in Colorado. And so I think the people who've controlled the party for far too long are beginning to realize they're losing their grip on power, and they don't quite know what to do about that. Well, here's one thing you definitely shouldn't do about that is morph into a version of John Fetterman and go to the home court of the enemy, Fox News, where they super serve MAGA and the Republican Party. It is state regime media, and then go feed them the exact talking points that they want you to feed them. So you are now acting as a complete and utter sellout and giving the other side exactly what they want because of an internal issue you have with other people in the Democratic tent. So much for the big tent, huh? So James Carville goes on Fox News, and he wants everybody to know it's either him or Hassan Piker. You can't have both. I'm not kidding about this. Listen to him throw a tantrum and basically leave the Democratic Party. Here we go.
So where should Democrats draw the line on this stuff?
Whatever Scott Galloway says, I'll believe it. I think that he's one of the smartest, most cogent, brilliant analysts there is. And I'm not sure what to understand what Madame is doing, but to talk about the larger Democratic Party post the election in Michigan going forward, I am not going to be in the same party with Hassan Piker. I can tell you that right now. If he becomes a force in the Democratic Party, I'm out of here.
Well, I hate to tell you, he already is. He's already campaigned for a shitload of candidates, and I think most of them have ended up winning. If this guy becomes a force in Democratic politics, I'm not going to be with the party anymore. Well, is this your way of saying you've already left the party? Because if you haven't, you might as well get on that because it's done, bro. He already is a big name. His endorsement already means something. Most of his candidates have already won. So what are you going to do? Is this an empty threat? Is it just words? If it's not just words, James, I got news for you. You gotta register as an independent or some shit. You gotta go do it. Because, it's already over. That ship has sailed. He's already significantly more relevant than you are. Yeah, you were relevant in, 1992. Who was the last candidate that Carville backed who ended up winning, right? Who was the last one? Crystal told me the other day. I forgot about this. This is incredible. You know who he backed in the 2020 race among the Democrats? Michael Bennet. Michael Bennet. For those of you that don't know, he's the Democrat who he talks like this, bro, like I'm a surfer dude, man. And negative 17 people in the country even knew who he was. I'm not even sure he ever polled at 1% or 2%, maybe 1% at his peak. I mean, the guy was a joke, and this is who Carville backed. This is how good his political instincts are. And this is going back 6 years to 2020. It's gotten worse since then, right? So it's insane for this guy whose heyday was literally 1992 or 1996. Oh yeah? Well, maybe I'll leave the party. Bro, I don't know if you know this. You're 81 years old. You have 17 minutes left to live. So, I mean, just for practical reasons, it would be insane for people to go, oh yeah, we're going to go with James Carville over fucking Hassan Piker. What a sick joke. Okay, let's keep going. He's not done.
I am not going to be in the same party with Hassan Piker. I can tell you that right now. If he becomes a force in the Democratic Party, I'm out of here. I have no intention of ever being in the same political party with that guy.
Now, again, I just need you to notice what he's doing. He's sucking up to Fox. He's giving Fox the exact talking points they want. Democratic Civil War. So you go onto the home court of the enemy to shit on your left flank. Again, so much for that big tent. So much for welcoming in everybody. So much for that. You immediately shit on that, and now this is a full Fetterman. We call this a full Fetterman.
Now, I think that overwhelming majority of Democrats agree with me.
Think again, son. Think again. What does Hassan want to do? He wants to raise taxes on the rich. He wants Medicare for all. He wants free college. He wants a living wage. He wants unions. He wants universal child care. He wants to end the wars. He wants to stop funding Israel and stop giving them weapons. Literally, the majority of the things Hassan believes in are popular ideas. And Hassan just represents the Democratic voting base more than you do.
This idea that we're going to seize the means of production and
oh my days. Oh no. Literally their only move is to argue against a straw lefty. That's their only move, is to argue against a straw lefty. Just like the other thing they do is they go to the DSA platform and they pick the least popular parts of it, and then they pretend like every DSA candidate put that issue front and center, whether it be defund the police or no militarized border or whatever the fuck. They handpick the least popular things in there, then they pretend like this is all DSA talks about, when the fact of the matter is they are doing the Republicans' dirty work for them. Because this is what Republicans say. They're parroting right-wing talking points. Because the fact of the matter is, what are all the DSA candidates and left-wing candidates actually running on? They're running on Medicare for all. They're running on higher wages. They're running on ending the illegal war against Iran. They're running on no longer giving an endless supply of money and weapons to the fascist, terrorist, apartheid rape state known as Israel. And that's why they're fucking winning. Okay? That's why they're winning. So it's just astonishing to me, like, to just morph this much into a Republican is just so gross.
Agree with me. But this idea that we're going to seize the means of production and just go look at the DSA platform. You don't have to look any.
I literally just told you he was going to do that. I told you. They go to, by the way, they ignore the like 80 to 90% of policy proposals in the DSA platform that poll at over 50%, and they just hone in on the handful that don't, and they pretend like that's all DSA is about.
Further than that. And, you know, Jackie, it may be that the two-party system is just going to be under tremendous stress here in the coming months. I mean, you see it in with Tucker and Martin Taylor Greene.
It's funny because this is the exact opposite of the truth. The truth is the Democratic Party is becoming stronger and more of a formidable force because of the left-wing takeover, because of the Democratic Tea Party. And he's pretending like, oh, no, the two-party system is going to be under stress. No, it's actually being strengthened by the Democratic Party becoming stronger because of left-wing people finally getting in the room and winning some races.
On the Republican side, you see it going on right now. And I can't sit here and tell you for certain how this is going to turn out. But the one thing I can tell you for certain, Hassan Piker and James Carville are not going to be in the same political party. One of us is going to leave. It might even be me.
Well, that's a little bit of awareness at the end there. But let me say this, and this is a point that I don't see many people making, but I think it's true. I honestly believe a lot of what's driving this is flat out bigotry, because James Carville recently came forward and he said, you know what? Actually, Bernie was right about a lot of stuff. I was wrong. Bernie was right. And some of Bernie's ideas are good and they're smart to run on and they're smart policy. So he came out and said that. He also, I believe, supported Graham Plattner, right? So if you support what Bernie stands for, and you supported the policies Graham Plattner stands for, but you hate Hassan Piker, what's the difference? What do Bernie and Plattner have in common that Hassan doesn't? Oh, that's right. Their name isn't Hassan. His name's Hassan Piker. He's, Turkish. I mean, he's American, but Turkish background. And so I think it's old white guy, 81-year-old Southern white guy, who thinks like, oh, look at all these young people of color winning, right? Like Daria Liza, for example, Zoran, for example, Malat Kiros, for example. I can go on and on. But look at all these young people of color who are winning. And that's somehow different. And that's somehow icky, even though on paper, they're just like Bernie. They're just like Bernie. But with Bernie, he goes, oh, he was right, and I give him a lot of credit, and I shouldn't have been as critical as I was, and now I'm with Bernie on a lot of his ideas. But now here comes the modern iteration of Bernie's ideas, and he goes, oh, not like that. So there's a heaping dose of bigotry that's oozing out of this, and he doesn't even realize it, right? He doesn't recognize it. He doesn't know why he hates Hassan as much as he does. I'm sure he's, digested a lot of Hassan stuff in fucking bite-sized sound bites that came directly from the right, where they clip things out of context, they try to make them look extreme. I'm sure that's, where he got it from, but if he bothered to actually look into it at all, he would realize that Hassan is basically arguing for Bernie's platform, and you already conceded Bernie's platform was good. Now the Bernie candidates are winning, and now all of a sudden you don't like it. Could it be because they're young and brown? Maybe that has something to do with it. By the way, the replies are brutal. Look at this. Medea Benjamin says, bye-bye, James. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. 50 Shades of Way says, old man yells at cloud. While Geeter says, going to be hard to replace him with someone else that is as good at losing to Trump. Exactly. The people, you've controlled the party since, the early 1990s. Your ideology, your philosophy, your mindset. And look at where we are. Trump's in his second term, and he's implementing fascism. By the way, in this moment where fascism is here and is taking over the country at a rapid pace, and Trump is implementing his agenda, his terrifying agenda day after day, if you're using this money to left punch, you're fucking sick. You're sick. You need to look in the mirror and reevaluate, because there should be no left punching happening when the fascists are here and taking everything over. Blakely says, incredible how passionate they become when it comes to talking about money and capitalism. Carville says, one of us is going to leave, and this person says, then die. I mean, he's 81. He's not going to be around that much longer. That's not that wrong, right? Connor says, Carville threatening to leave if Hassan gets powers like a VHS player quitting because Netflix exists. The party already walked out on you, James. Door's right there. This guy says, he says inches away from his casket while on Fox News. Popular Monster says, why is he dressed up like a gangster version of Fetterman? This guy says, bye, Felicia. Haven't done shit since Clinton, and he acts like he knows what to do. So anyway, don't threaten us with a good time. Party's over, Grandpa. Yeah, I mean, like, it's brutal. It's vicious. Yeah, man, time has passed you by. I don't know what else you want me to say. Like, it is what it is. And by the way, he also took a little shot at Zoran there early on in this clip. I mean, that just shows how fucking out of touch he is. I mean, what has Zoran done? He cracked down on shitty landlords. He ordered a deep cleaning of the subway. He got Hochul on board for universal child care. He froze the rent. He filled a record number of potholes. He taxed the rich. He had crime went down to a record low. Like, what more do you want? Like, there's a reason why his approval rating is higher now than it was when he got in there. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in politics. But now, if you actually deliver for people, it does. So we finally get politicians that deliver for people, and he's like, no, not like that. Well, again, because why? He's a Bill Clinton alum, and Bill Clinton is the king of neoliberalism. And so he still got that in him. And this is a pathetic, pathetic display.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, we got to talk about this guy, Max Miller. So he's a MAGA representative. He's currently in Congress. He's a wife beater and a child beater and a MAGA psychopath and sociopath. He's a criminal. And so he's up for election now, and he's up against this guy, Poindexter. By the way, everybody go support Poindexter. It's in Ohio. This district is in Ohio. And this guy came out. There's been all this chatter because there's been this reporting about how this guy is like a literal domestic abuser, and he's violent and he's horrible and he's got all these severe psychological issues. So there's all this reporting that comes out about it. And then in typical Republican fashion, he decides, so I'm going to call a press conference or deliver a speech. And man, was this thing a mess. So take a look at this. Midas Touch says, news, Trump-backed GOP Representative Max Miller just delivered a special address denying the domestic abuse allegations made by his ex-wife and affirmed he will not drop out of his race. Miller's ex-wife is Emily Moreno, who's the daughter of the Republican U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio. In police reports and court filings, she has accused Miller of throwing boiling water on her, more on that in a minute, by the way, holding a gun to her head while she changed their infant daughter's diaper, throwing her against a wall during a custody exchange in front of their child, and other acts of physical and emotional abuse. In the latest video, Miller said his ex-wife struggled with significant mental health challenges. He added, quote, if I had assaulted her, would she had offered to cook me dinner 6 days later? Okay, listen to what he says here. Here we go.
My former wife has claimed that during a custody exchange at my home that day, I assaulted her. Here's what actually happened.
Now, by the way, I know you're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. On looks alone, guilty. On looks alone, guilty. I mean, the whole thing just screams guilt.
And I have the Ring doorbell footage that backs it up. She came to my home in a good mood, and we have text messages to prove it, which you'll have, to pick up our daughter early for a friend's birthday party.
I love how he thinks he's nailing it with this. I'm going to get into all the details and the particulars and the specifics with my domestic abuse, and it's going to exonerate me. And that's like, when you are running for Congress and this is what you're talking about, my I'm not an abuser shirt is leading to a lot of questions answered by my shirt. Like, Poindexter's out there talking about like raising the minimum wage and shit, and this guy's like, look, if you look at the Ring footage from this angle, it doesn't look as bad as you might think it maybe would look. Like, bro, all my days.
She was inside my house for several minutes when she left. The video shows her walking out, carrying our daughter calm, in the same good mood, showing no distress whatsoever. And as they left, you can hear me say, goodbye, I love you, and I love you, Ruthie. Literally telling my ex-wife that I still cared for her. Does that sound like somebody who would just walk out and who had been violently thrown a wall and been abused? She didn't call the police after that. She didn't go to the hospital, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to know what she did? She went straight to a child's birthday party. The very next day, we had a friendly phone call about our daughter's upcoming hospital procedure, and I drove in from Washington to be there for it. 6 days later, she offered to cook empanadas for me for dinner, just 2 days later after this alleged incident. The day after that, she invited me and my girlfriend, and which you'll have in text messages, to join her and our daughter at a playground. And that day, I just went with my former wife to the playground to spend time with our daughter. A week later, on February 15th...
This is going great, bro. It's going great. Do the whole timeline. Go through, show all your text messages. This is definitely going to do... The voters are going to look at this and go, oh, I'm definitely going to vote for him now. By the way, you have to make the comparison, right? You have to make the comparison. When there were serious allegations against a Democrat, like there were against Graham Plattner, what ended up happening? Literally, the entire Democratic Party was like, okay, we're going to go with Troy Jackson here. Sorry, we can't do it. Even if the allegations are not true, the allegations are so severe that we want to try to have some standards, and so that's what we're going to do. And look, to be fair, sometimes that Democratic instinct does go too far, like when they fucking axed Al Franken, because Al Franken was a comedian and took a picture joking where he pretended to grope somebody but didn't, and, he ended up getting kicked out for that picture. But look at the difference. This guy is accused of the most heinous shit imaginable, and he's like, I'm going to do a 20-minute video. That's how long it was, by the way, the whole thing. And I'm going to go through every, little nook and cranny of it, and it's going to make me seem so innocent. And it's, bro, this is not landing like you think it is, homie. By the way, there was another article that was written about this guy. Apparently, he has a long track record of this, even before being with this wife. He allegedly threw a woman down a flight of stairs, I believe when he was in school. I don't know if it was college or high school. But he threw a woman down a flight of stairs because the woman wouldn't let him touch her. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's this dude's got 6, 7, 8 different allegations against him, many from a variety of different people. Sorry, bro, I'm not going to believe that literally the entire world is conspiring against you. Because what? You're just a standard MAGA Republican who votes in the dumbest way possible on everything. There's no coordinated thing to try to take you down. You're just a cog in a machine that fucking blows Donald Trump on a regular basis.
She wrote to me, in her own words, which you will see, I think it's great you and I are in a friendlier place. She then offered me more extra overnights with our daughter, which I can prove to every single one of you is recently. Every one of these messages is time-stamped on our court-sanctioned co-parenting app and is all in the packet. Only weeks later did the story of February 1st assault appear, so ask yourself, if I had assaulted her, would she have offered to cook me dinner 6 days later? Would she have invited me to spend an afternoon at the playground with her and our daughter? Would she have written that we were in a friendlier place? No, she wouldn't have, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's look at some of the replies. Brooklyn Dad Defiant says, gee, I don't know, Slick, if the easiest way for her to get you to not point a gun at her head and break her daughter's collarbone is to cook you dinner, yes, I believe she would. After all, her own dad, Bernie Moreno, won't defend her against you, jackass. More on that in a second, because that has since changed. Adam Kinzinger said, sounds like a woman desperate to create peace and in fear. Defunct Interwebs says, that's how abusive relationships work. Look at all the fucking beat-down losers that still lick Trump's balls. They know they're being lied to and abused mentally and financially, yet they can't help themselves from defending him and wanting him to see how much they care. This guy says, I was a divorce attorney for 25 years, and yes, I saw this pattern a lot. That kind of explanation is a red flag. There's actually a term for it, battered wife syndrome. Bernie Moreno, this guy says your daughter is a lying whore and you say nothing. You are the biggest fucking bitch of all time. Again, more on that in a second because that changes. But now, let me show you this. So this guy released a bunch of stuff thinking it exonerates him, okay? Max Miller. The idiot didn't fucking realize what he released does the opposite. It actually implicates him. So he released audio where he admits to spraying his wife with hot water. Oh my days. Oh my word.
It never was done to hurt you, and you know that. You are weaponizing this because of my previous allegation.
And then you knew it was because you went into my room when I was crying.
So
and
Emily,
you started crying saying, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Why are you scared of me? Why are you scared of me?
Yeah, I didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't done with intent. You just said it yourself. You literally just said it yourself. It wasn't done to hurt you. And I told you before that not to come over to me and start screwing around with me.
I wasn't trying to screw around with you.
Emily,
I was trying to give you a hug.
You're taking a playful incident and making something nefarious.
Playful incident. Putting scalding hot water on her. Playful incident.
It's not playful. When you have hot water.
Emily, going out of the faucet, it does not get to a temperature of boiling water. It does not.
Put it on when you get home, Max, and see if you can get
I
home.
did it, and I tested it, and I had our attorneys test it because I figured that this is what you were going to come at me with.
It's
and
not
it's
coming
literally
at you with
what? No,
something,
but
Max.
literally, it's like standing under a hot shower, and we
Oh my
already
God.
have someone to go ahead and combat this if this is what you're going to do.
Oh my days, bro. Oh my days. He thinks it's like, oh, sure, I put it on you, but it wasn't like really all that hot, and I didn't even mean anything bad by it. Oh, how about when you allegedly broke your daughter's collarbone? How about that? How about when you shoved that woman down the stairs? How about the multiple instances of abuse? Oh my days. He shot himself in the dick without even realizing it. Okay. The reason why Bernie Moreno took so long to speak up is because Max Miller texted this to his father-in-law, who's a U.S. senator. Quote, "Take this however you want. Everyone is going to get to know you better than your wife does," Miller wrote to Senator Bernie Moreno. "Enjoy the ride, brother. I wouldn't have to do this if you could keep your lying daughter under control." Now, let me just ask you, just based off these texts, does that sound like a guy who's innocent? You're texting like a literal movie villain, right? "Take this however you want. Everyone is going to get to know you better than your wife does. Mwahahaha. Enjoy the ride, brother. I wouldn't have to do this if you could keep your lying daughter under control." By the way, there's rumors that Bernie Moreno is gay on the down low. And so the reason why he took so long to speak up is because he thought, well, Max Miller is immediately going to get out there some more specifics about his gay escapades. Because allegedly his name was on some gay hookup site connected to his email, and his staffers went out there and said, "Oh no, we set that up as a joke." That was their cover for him. "Oh no, we set that up as a joke. He's not low-key gay and going on gay websites." Unbelievable. But so for a while, he was being a coward, but then he finally decided to come out, okay? Not come out as in like say, hey, he's gay, but come out as in like come out to defend his daughter. So Bernie Moreno says, "As a father and husband, I can tell you the last 2 years have been pure hell for my wife, Bridget, our daughter, Emily, me, and our entire family in the aftermath of Emily's divorce. It has been horrific to watch this play out in full public view, all while knowing an innocent 2-year-old girl is caught in the middle. Our priority has always been protecting our daughter and our granddaughter. Out of concern for the safety of my family, I hoped to keep this matter private, but Max Miller's increasingly erratic and dangerous behavior has made that impossible. As he had admitted privately, Max Miller needs serious psychological help. He is a danger to my daughter, and I hold my breath every minute he has custody of my granddaughter. If there are any basic standards of character required to hold elected office, Max Miller fails them. He should not serve in the House of Representatives. I believe Max Miller needs to seek professional help to end the clear pattern of abuse he has left in his wake. I believe he should not be free to continue endangering others until he does. I ran for office because I wanted to make a difference for the country that gave me every opportunity to succeed and to leave this nation better for my children and grandchildren. That sacrifice has been especially hard on my wife, Bridget, whose big heart and steady support have never wavered. I owe it to her, to Emily, and to my granddaughter to speak the truth now." By the way, are you ready for a fucking crazy fact, y'all? Are you ready for the craziest fact? To this point, this guy, Bernie Moreno, Max Miller's father-in-law, is the only Republican that has spoken out against him. The only one. Trump hasn't said shit. MAGA Mike Johnson hasn't said shit. There's no even low-level Congress people or senators who've condemned and said shit. None of them have said anything. They needed to wait for the fucking the father-in-law to come out first. Do not tell me both parties are the same. They are not fucking remotely similar. They're not remotely similar. And this guy is intent on running. But you know what? We should all be happy because a new poll just came out. Poindexter's up 5. It was like a purple district anyway in a massive blue year. I think Poindexter could win with colossal margins because this guy is absolutely toxic and poisonous and cancerous, and everybody knows it.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, so shout out to Too Lazy to Try. He did a video here titled Coffeezilla versus Joe Rogan, and I didn't know this, but Coffeezilla has been low-key taking some shots at Rogan, and apparently he is completely and utterly fed up, not only with his right-wing pivot, but his ass covering for an endless stream of Donald Trump scams. So let's watch and we'll break it down as we go.
Hey, man, thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, Joe.
I appreciate your show. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. And I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Epstein Experience featuring J.D. Vance. The vice president has gone on the world's largest podcast to slip us some propaganda. They're hoping you won't notice. Got to be careful of the podcast these days. The times have changed. It's no longer bros talking. All these powerful people who used to go try to spin stuff on cable TV have now realized this is the new place to sell your propaganda. It's not on cable TV. Nobody's there. It's on the Joe Rogan Experience. You got to be skeptical skeptical of all these guys who go on the show. I mean, except that guy, obviously. Wait, click off that.
All right, so it's been over 3 years since Coffeezilla went on the Joe Rogan Experience, and at the time, Joe was a big fan of his and appreciated what he was doing and seemed to be in total agreement with him about how predatory crypto schemes are. And Joe thought meme coin pump and dumps should be illegal. But then Trump started his own coin, and of course, Joe had to try to defend it and downplay it, which Coffeezilla has to be really disappointed about because, Rogan was telling him he's doing great work, and it sounded like he agreed with everything. But then Rogan started justifying crypto schemes and doing damage control for the Epstein files and doing a ton of gambling ads. So now Coffeezilla had to start calling him out. And I don't think there's any chance Rogan would ever have him on the podcast again.
Hey, Coffee. Welcome to the club, big guy. Welcome to the club, big guy. I think I've been on like 5 or 6 times, but as soon as Joe completely and utterly lost his mind and went full right-wing hack and started defending the indefensible, well, if you have integrity, you got to keep telling the truth, and that includes about old Joe Rogan. And so Coffee and I are part of a very rare club of people who've been on Rogan's show and got along with him nicely and liked him and liked the show, and then watched in horror as it just degraded and became a pathetic excuse for what it used to be.
Or even have a conversation like this again.
I appreciate what you do. What you do is a very valuable service because you go so deep on some of these scammers. It's so important.
That these people are literally financially murdering people. After Celsius, people committed suicide because of, literally, it's a fact. People committed suicide because they lost everything.
I'm sure FTX as well.
Of course. The bigger the scam, there's just statistically, it almost becomes impossible that you don't at least, if not financially, sort of metaphorically murdering a family, you literally kill somebody. Either only the guy at the top goes down or nobody goes down. And that is crazy to me. It's like, what message are we sending via our regulators? Basically, it's like, hey, you're going to get a slap on the wrist if you're caught.
What you just did is why I'm interested in your show. Because this is your real thoughts and opinions.
Something has to change.
Yes.
Something has to change where you can't just go on like this. Somebody has to be there when things go wrong.
Yes.
And there has to be consequences. If you lie and if you cheat and you steal, there has to be a guy at the end of the day who's going to put you in trouble. And I think a YouTube video is not nearly enough. This is why I'm constantly saying, can someone from the government get involved? Go lock this guy up. Go lock somebody.
So Trump decided to get involved by starting Trump Coin and Melania Coin. After that, Coffeezilla seemed to almost lose hope. He couldn't believe it. He spends all this time trying to expose how nefarious meme coins are and deter people from taking advantage of their followers by starting one. Then the president of the United States launches one and just cashes in. He made $635 million from his coin, and it's down almost 99% from its peak. So he looted these people, and if the president is doing this shit, what kind of precedent does that set? It's just a free-for-all out there. And I think this is when Coffeezilla started using the phrase crime is legal. And after Melania Coin was launched, he sounded defeated, because on Rogan's podcast, he was talking about how the government needs to get involved and lock people up. But then the head of the government and his wife started their own coins. So Coffeezilla was in shock, especially because at that point, it seemed like starting a meme coin was basically a career ender for most people. Hawk Tua had launched one right before Trump, and that ended her 15 minutes of fame. That completely destroyed her career, which I'm sure started to discourage people from launching their own coin. But then Trump came out with his a month later. Right when it seemed like starting a meme coin was thought of as the lowest form of grifting, Trump launches one.
It quite literally is the lowest form of grifting, and the president is the lowest kind of grifter. And this is why we've been saying, I don't want to hear another fucking word about Nancy Pelosi ever again. I don't want to hear another word about Hunter Biden ever again. The fact of the matter is the Trump crime family is by far the most corrupt in U.S. history, and it's not even close. We're talking about millions of dollars in insider trading, allegedly billions of dollars made off the insider trading around the Iran war. He's suing his own IRS and taking the money and going to pay off insurrectionists and terrorists and all of his cronies. Not only is there the scam crypto coin, there's also the World Liberty tokens, where he pardoned a guy who laundered money for Al-Qaeda because that guy bought $100 million worth of his World Liberty tokens. He's got a pay-to-pardon scheme. You all know this, a massive pay-to-pardon scheme. He's taken gifts like $400 million jets from Qatar and building golf resorts and all sorts of shit in these different countries, which is wildly illegal. It's against the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. You cannot profit from foreign countries while you're president because it's an obvious conflict of interest. I can go on and on. The most corrupt by far. And like people are always shocked. Oh my God, how could he go that low? Well, he's gonna find a way to go lower. Every time you think he's hit rock bottom, he's not done yet. He's gonna go lower in that bitch.
I mean, it was low even for Hawk Tua, a girl who's just trying to cash in on some stupid viral video. So you'd think to start a coin after that disaster, you got to be completely shameless. But unfortunately, I guess we learned the president of the United States is more shameless than a girl who's known for talking about spitting on a dick.
It's insane. It's like gonna be the historic grift. I honestly can't believe it. I'm like waiting for someone. Is somebody going to stop this? Like, is this allowed? I saw a tweet that I was just like, yes. Somebody goes, crime is legal. And that's how I kind of felt about that. I mean, to say it's a conflict of interest is like insulting all the people who've had conflicts of interest before. It's so crazy to use the presidency in this manner to pump a meme coin to enrich yourself, insiders, and basically everyone but your standard base, right? Because the standard Trump guy and girl, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for most of his supporters. And that's what is like the grossest part of this whole thing is like, you're not only doing the world dirty, your own fans are gonna get wrecked on this with another meme coin from the First Lady. What can I say? I spent years of my life trying to tell people to do the right thing. Don't take advantage of your followers. Don't scam people. Don't grift. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You're not going to get to the highest office of the land. That's crazy. And if you do it too much, law enforcement might come after you. Now, the guy doing it appoints the law enforcement. So I don't even know what am I doing here. I don't have a good answer for that.
So about a month or two after Trump launched his coin, Rogan had on Elon Musk and they discussed meme coins. And Joe was still wondering how they could be legal. But of course, the people around him can't have him thinking like that. Like when he brings this up to Elon Musk, you could tell Elon tries to think of any way he can to downplay it. It's hilarious. He literally starts scratching his head trying to think of something. And he compares it to a casino, which Rogan slightly pushes back on. At first, he's like, yeah, true. But then he says, well, meme coins are rigged. So I think Coffeezilla was holding out a little bit of hope for Rogan to be against Trump starting a meme coin. But you could definitely tell Rogan wasn't heading in a good direction after talking about it with Elon here.
Whoever's like the last to sit down loses type of thing.
And somehow or another, it's still legal.
Yeah, why?
Like that's.
I think not too many people. I mean,
I like that he's scratching his head. Like, how do I justify the U.S. government thinking this is cool to just allow more scams? The constant answer, by the way, this is what Malay said. Nobody actually invests in these things, right?
Yeah. By the way, that's the president, the psychotic president of Argentina, who also scammed his own people. He launched his own crypto scam coin. I mean, it's ridiculous. When we call, it's not just the U.S. and Israel that are the axis of Epstein. It is like all of our top allies, like Argentina. I mean, these people are the most depraved, corrupt scumbags of all time.
Billions of dollars that flew into Trump coin, but nobody actually, I mean, not even that many. There's that, who even, it's just a casino. The cope is unreal.
It's just weird that it's legal still.
Agreed.
I mean, casinos are legal.
Yeah,
and
it is
people
like a
just
casino.
lose money at casinos.
Yeah, but you can't rig a casino like a pump and dump.
Right. It's not exactly the same, is it, when somebody is rigging a game versus there is a predetermined chance and you're agreeing and you go into it knowing the odds, right?
You could rig a pump and dump,
Yeah, I guess so.
Why is it legal then?
You could run a real pyramid scheme.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah.
What?
You tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
What? So, okay, we're talking about the problem of people shamelessly just siphoning money from retail investors, right? And your response is, well, not that many people do it, and if they do, it's just like gambling. And if it's not just like gambling, well, it is what it is. Shouldn't have bet the farm. And your response to that is, but the safety net for retirement is a scam too, and a bigger. What? How is that a response? Look, you can have problems with Social Security. It's just it's not even close. It's not even the same world tree. It's so weird. This is one of the most important guys in determining the path forward, right? This is a thought leader here, and our thought leader is saying, oh, meme coins are fine because Social Security is a bigger scam.
So of course they got Rogan in line and he started defending Trump's coin. It's wild seeing him go from being a big Coffeezilla fan and having him on the podcast to then pretending like he doesn't see anything wrong with the president starting a meme coin. And he seriously started acting like he doesn't understand how Trump's taking advantage of people with it. And he even said he supports it. So Coffeezilla must have been dying inside watching Rogan just play dumb like this. It's also insane because Rogan's always talking about insider trading and how it should be illegal. He calls it stealing. Like, how many times has he ranted about Nancy Pelosi? As he should. People should speak out about that. But if you're talking about insider trading, Trump blows her out of the water. He made $2.2 billion just last year from basically insider trading crypto and stocks. But when Trump does this stuff, Rogan ignores it, or he just plays dumb and acts like he doesn't really understand what's going on, even though we know he understands how these crypto scams work. But this is his move now. Whenever it comes to Trump, he just acts all confused or acts like it's all just fun and games. I mean, he says he supports Trump's coin and compares it to 3-card Monty, which is an illegal scam. So this is just incredible.
Like, look at the big spike in the beginning, and then a bunch of people like, sucker!
Yeah, that is a total...
That has to be what happened, right? Like, how many people sold like,
what did Trump
the
make
next
off
day?
that?
Yeah. But look at that first 12 hours. That is crypto coins. That's meme coins. Not like Bitcoin, not like Ethereum, but like that is a meme coin. That first thing, that explosion, that's what I expect.
It's garbage.
That's what I expect. But I support it. Why not?
Yeah.
If you could do that, like, look, if you can go fucking play cards, if you could figure out a way to 3-card Monty people on the streets of New York, okay. Right, but the argument is that Trump is ripping off his fans with this Trump coin. But my question is, like, how is he ripping off his fans? It's basically like DraftKings. Like, what are you doing?
So now Rogan just constantly embarrasses himself trying to defend Trump's corruption, and it must be so disappointing for Coffeezilla because...
I mean, bro, the pay-to-play pardons, has Rogan said anything about the pay for pardons? Even though we know that's what's going on. Has he said anything? He just went after insider trading. Has he said anything about Don Jr.'s executive branch club, which costs $500,000 to join? And if you do that, it's basically like an insider trading club. And it's like a club where you get favoritism and special treatment. Like you'll get subsidies and tax cuts and special perks from the government if you pay them $500,000. Has he said anything about Trump's new Truth Social thing, where he charges Wall Street firms $100,000 a month to get first look access to his posts on Lie Social, and they can then use that to insider trade. So if you can afford to pay $100,000 to the president for early notice into his post, then you can trade based off that and make a lot of money. I mean, it's literally like pay for insider trading. That's what it is. Oh my days. It's just, I'm so grossed out that anybody in this country is left supporting Trump. 30% is low when it comes to his approval rating. That's way too high. Like, it is insane that 3 out of 10 people still defend this guy who is objectively a disgusting, wretched, demented, vile piece of shit.
When he went on Rogan's podcast, it sounded like Joe really appreciated his work and had a backbone when it comes to this stuff. But now he's totally sold out and defends Trump like crazy, who just shamelessly manipulates the market. But I don't think Rogan ever really talks about it. I think he just tries to ignore it, even though he's always criticizing people for insider trading. And I think he seriously thought Trump was going to go after Nancy Pelosi for it, which is hilarious. Also, when one of Rogan's guests brought up how Trump's family has been profiting off the Iran war, Rogan acted all weird and tried to make jokes about it. So he seems to love calling out corruption until it comes to Trump and his family.
They have to stop Congress people from being able to fucking insider trade. That shit is insane. When you see the fact that these people are making $170,000.
Incredible. She's great at it.
She's amazing at it.
This is Micron Technology. And you can see here, the purchases are in the green arrows. And all of these purchases culminated in the president talking about Micron as an incredible company. And then all of a sudden, the stock goes parabolic after that. I mean, just has this incredible run right after the president's endorsement, which sounds like this.
I just left the head of Micron. It's one of the hottest companies.
Now, I'll be honest, he kind of called this one like crazy. Like, look at this run up right after that. Almost called the bottom exactly.
She's worth an estimated $400 million now.
How? What's the salary? 70,000 a year?
170 grand a year, something like that. 200 grand a year, maybe. Watching the panic in her face, realizing that Trump is now president, and they're talking about literally going after her for insider trading.
Because on May 8th, the president said, hey, go out and buy a Dell.
Dell, go out and buy a Dell computer. They make a great product. They're not looking for any publicity. I give them publicity. They say, well, thank you very much. But
and the people who were purchasing on behalf of Trump bought Dell $5 million worth on February 10th. And then more on March 2nd, more on March 11th, more on March 23rd.
Now, let's also be clear and say that all this stuff that Coffeezilla is saying here, this is stuff that old Rogan would have also said. He would have talked about this, right? Like, people forget. He was a supporter of Bernie Sanders, and he would openly talk about shit like this. But now, he's literally part of the club. He's in the Epstein class, y'all. He has a new billionaire on every other week to suck them off and tell them they're special, whether it's Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Mark Andreessen or any of these other dead-eyed psychopaths and sociopaths. So when you have on MAGA loser after MAGA loser and billionaire after billionaire, then, like, what do you expect? He has phone calls with Trump and Trump Jr., bro. He's talked about that. He's gone to the White House.
And then he endorses a little bit later, and you can see what happened to the stock price. This was an incredible trade, ladies and gentlemen. Double your money in a few months. I mean, you kind of don't see big opportunities like that unless you're, I guess, the president.
and they get to vote on whether or not they can still do this insider trading thing, right? Which is bananas. Like, who thinks we should still steal? Oh, can we have an anonymous vote?
What about the military drones? Those contracts, when this war started, that's, you can look into who made money on that one.
Who made money on that one? Don Jr., what?
What, Jamie? What did you find?
Wait a minute.
What did you?
Are you?
I'm just
This
Googling
has
things
got to
over
be
here.
a mistake.
Where did-
Eric and Don Jr. invest in military drone company amid Iran war.
Is it, Jamie, where'd you find this?
That seems like propaganda from Iran or something.
Is that a cartoon, Iran's cartoon?
So for Rogan to still defend Trump and ignore his corruption is really hypocritical, just like him doing gambling ads constantly. Coffeezilla called Joe out on that because he was making a video about people promoting gambling to their audience and noticed Rogan started doing a bunch of gambling ads during his podcast, which Coffeezilla pointed out was really hypocritical for him considering how much he criticizes pharmaceutical ads. And I think
not only that, I think there's an old video of him saying specifically about gambling ads that they're gross, and then he ended up doing
this was the first time Coffeezilla went after Joe directly, which I'm surprised it took this long. But it seems like he might have been trying to hold himself back a little from attacking Joe since Joe invited him on his podcast and was really supportive of his work. But after a while, it's probably just too difficult for him to ignore how much Joe has sold out.
We got to discuss, though, how the biggest comedians in the world, biggest, smallest comedians, are pushing DraftKings. Didn't Joe get a $250 million deal from Spotify? I didn't realize before this video, like, how many gambling ads he has been running recently. In the month of September alone, there were 11 DraftKings ads in 14 videos. And with Joe especially, it's weird because he's the guy who rants against Big Pharma's manipulative advertising.
If you can advertise, you can manipulate people and change their opinion based on theatrics.
So many. Everyone gets a free bet. We all want to win. Hey, let's win together. You know what to do.
You have music and people dancing and holding hands and spinning around in a wheat field. Like, that is so manipulative. And we are subject to manipulation when it's something that is so important, like making critical health decisions. There's so many of these commercials. Like, so many times I'm watching television, I'm like, how many goddamn drug commercials are there?
By the way, I agree with him. We are being manipulated. But change a few words from that rant, and you could say the exact same thing about how gambling is pushed. Casinos are also manipulative. They don't advertise the actual reality where people lose. Instead, they say things like winning, cashing in, opportunity. And Joe Rogan's a part of that.
Every game is another chance to cash in. Don't just watch the action.
Oh my God.
Win with it. Every snap is loaded with opportunity.
By the way, such a fucking sellout because he got hundreds of millions of dollars in a deal with Spotify, and you need more money? Like, what do you need more money for, bro? Why do these fucking read-in ads? Like, we made a choice with this show. I'm never going to talk to an advertiser. I'm never going to do an ad read. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. So we have the Patreon. We have the Substack for Crystal Kyle and friends. You guys tip on YouTube. That's it. And the default ads on YouTube. And that's it. And this guy, he's got more money than God at this point. And you're reading these fucking ads for this, like, civilization-destroying bullshit? And you can sleep at night? Like, what's the point, bro? You already have more money than God. Why not have some integrity and some dignity? And just run it the way I do this one, and you'll still make a gazillion dollars, bro.
That is just as manipulative as pharma ads pushing pills that may end up addicting you. In both cases, the collateral damage are the addicts we created along the way. And I guess I have to ask, maybe people think, oh, one's worse than the other. Is there that much of a difference between a drug addict and a gambling addict? No, really, I'm asking.
It's like if you see the drug addict, you see him, he's shooting up or whatever it is, and you see him fainting, you go, oh, that poor bastard. But when you see a guy who's fully in the grips of gambling, trying to figure out how to get his money back, and he's all jazzed up with adrenaline, he doesn't understand why.
It's just like cocaine. It's just like drug abuse. It's just like the opiate problem. It's just like anything else. It can you and I both know people who have lost their lives gambling. Okay, you've seen people in pool halls. You see how they get, Joe Rogan. There's no difference in the drug addict than the gambling addict. Not at all. No difference.
So there is no difference. Then why do we shake our head at the Sackler family and pharmaceutical execs who push pills that ruin people's lives, but somehow nobody cares we're doing a very similar thing with gambling?
So I wonder if Rogan is still a fan of his, or does he think Coffeezilla is just a mentally ill, jealous hater now? Coffeezilla also recently referred to Joe's podcast as the Jeffrey Epstein experience.
I can tell you for sure he'll just categorize Coffeezilla as a hater now, right? Like a jealous hater. And he'll rationalize it like, oh, he's mad he didn't get invited on the podcast more or some shit. I'm sure he's done it about me. I'm sure he's doing it about Coffeezilla, because there's always some sort of cope around legitimate reasons to call him out on substantive issues. It's never just going to be like, you know what? They're right, I'm wrong. We just saw this with Mark Maron. How Mark Maron was like, hey, you guys helped usher in fucking fascism. Like, that's kind of fucked up. And Rogan turned that into, he's just a jealous, bitter man and a jealous, bitter comedian, and he's mad he isn't as popular as we are. It actually has literally fuck all to do with that. You know, you would think a guy who's 50-something, 60-something, as Mark Maron is, like by that time in your life, you've obviously made peace with whatever level you've hit in terms of like career success or whatever. No, it's a substantive issue about how y'all motherfuckers helped usher in, I should say, fascism. Like, that's it. And he has to find a way, a convenient narrative to build around that to exonerate himself. But guess what? The fact of the matter is, Mark Maron is right, Joe Rogan is wrong. Coffeezilla is right, Joe Rogan is wrong. I'm right with my criticisms of him, he's wrong. He can build whatever sort of fucking, house of cards around that to protect his ego, but at the end of the day, we know exactly what you're doing, and deep down, he fucking does too.
After Joe had on JD Vance and let him try to do PR for how they mishandled the Epstein files, that's how JD described it. And you could trust him because he claims he's gone down every rabbit hole. He was trying to convince people he's an expert on Epstein conspiracy theories. So Coffeezilla talked about how JD's trying to prove you can trust him by acting like he's just an unbiased guy on a podcast, giving his honest take on the Epstein files, like Rogan's podcast used to be. But now Joe would never let somebody actually go into detail about Trump, Elon Musk, or Peter Thiel's connections to Epstein. So I don't think he'd ever have on someone who has actually done a lot of research on them and doesn't have a narrative to push, like Coffeezilla. I don't think Joe's handlers would approve of that.
Welcome to the Epstein Experience featuring JD Vance. The vice president has gone on the world's largest podcast to slip us some propaganda. They're hoping you won't notice. How to be careful of the podcast these days. The times have changed. It's no longer bros talking. All these powerful people who used to go try to spin stuff on cable TV have now realized this is the new place to sell your propaganda. And this is my problem with these types of interviews. Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with interviewing the vice president, but you have to take into account that he's not just a bro. He's not just your buddy, right? This is a guy who tells you he's not here to commentate. He's not here to give his real opinion. He's here to propagandize for what the president's agenda is. Here's a guy who says he's thought a lot about discrediting conspiracy theories.
One of the ways you discredit conspiracy theory, I thought about this a lot.
Here's a guy who corroborates reporting where he is directly conspiring to discredit the Epstein conspiracy theory. But we'll just let him get away with saying he's just like one of us, bro. He's gone down every rabbit hole.
I'm like one of the OG Epstein conspiracy theorists.
And by the way, this is why he's so dishonest, right? Like, not just JD Vance, but also Joe Rogan, is because I think Joe Rogan knows that there's a clip out there where Epstein is talking to Michael Wolff, and Epstein says Trump was his best friend for a decade. I think he knows that. I think he knows that Trump was on the plane 8 times that we know of, and that he went to the island. I think he knows about the allegation that the first time Trump and Melania had sex was on Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile plane, the Lolita Express. I think he knows about the Katie Johnson allegations. Like, I think he knows a lot more than he lets on, and he just doesn't bring it up on air because now he's part of the club. And that's why Rogan at this point is dishonest. It's not just like, oh, he's got the wrong ideology and he's been misled. Like, no, you're just a liar and you're dishonest and you're pretending you don't know a lot of stuff that you do know. You just wouldn't say it because it would piss off your friends.
Probably gone down every single rabbit hole we could go down, most of them today.
And he probably feels kind of let down by Joe because when he did his podcast, it seemed like he really respected him and was honored that Joe was a fan of his and would have him on. And when he was in the studio, he took a picture and captioned it, "Hi, Mom, I made it." Like, it was obviously a big deal to him, and it sounded like he was a fan of the podcast. But now, with how much Joe has changed, he probably thinks Joe's sold out. And there's this part from the podcast they did where they're talking about people selling out. And it sounds like Joe could be talking about himself now because he says once you get a lot of advertisers or investors involved in your show, they influence who you have on, what you talk about, and what you promote. So then you're not independent anymore, but you don't have to worry about money as much. And Joe was talking about how tempting that is.
You're back in the same trap that you were trying to avoid, if you were trying to avoid that trap in the first place. But a lot of people were not trying to avoid that trap. They just started a thing. And then along the way, that thing became profitable and people recognized it was profitable, and then they swooped in and tried to buy it. And it's very tempting. Someone comes along, hey, Coffeezilla, we've got X amount of money for you.
Oh, yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about money anymore. Oh, don't you want to do that? And then you're like, okay, well, here now you have to interview this person.
It's all to promote some crappy crypto coin or something. Like, that's what it always is.
Imagine if that was you, if you fell into that. Yeah.
No, there's been plenty of that. People are always asking, like, hey, will you promote this? Will you do that? And it's just like, why sell out like that? It's just,
I think people just want to be free of the tension of worrying about the future. You know, if something comes along and now all of a sudden you don't have to worry. Like, they're going to throw X amount of dollars at you, and now you're owned by this corporation, so you don't have to think about who your guests are.
There's always catches, though.
Oh, for sure.
The thing, I think actually, though, the kind of day-to-day struggle of, like, I got to kind of, like, you got to make something, I got to generate something useful is actually kind of good because it kind of makes you strive. It kind of makes you push.
So that's aged well. And now because of what Joe's describing there, we'll probably never see Coffeezilla on the show again. It's too risky. He could upset Elon or Trump. because, you know, Coffeezilla is actually honest about the Epstein files, crypto scams, and insider trading, which Joe knows. I mean, he was a fan and thought Coffeezilla was an honest guy and really appreciated the work he was doing. But now Rogan supports Trump's coin. He acts like he doesn't understand how Trump's taking advantage of people with it. And he lets people use his podcast to try to downplay the Epstein files and the cover up, which is everything Coffeezilla speaks out about. So based on the direction things are headed, it seems like he'll probably start calling Rogan out more.
Shout out to Too Lazy to Try. This was a great video. And yeah, I mean, Coffeezilla's always been honest, man. He's always been honest. And, you know, now I didn't realize he was leaning that hard into, you know, calling Joe out. And good on him. Good on him, man. In this moment, even people who view themselves as quote unquote non-political, right, or independent or whatever, what you're seeing in this moment is they have to become more political because the reality of this world we live in is political. And we're looking at fascism, we're looking at oligarchy, we're looking at kakistocracy. Go look that word up if you haven't yet. K-A-K, kakistocracy. And that's what we're living through as well. And so even people who don't think of themselves as political end up sounding like me and end up sounding very political because everything is fucking political. And if you have a functioning brain and you're using like basic reason and logic, you are going to be left-wing going forward. Period, full stop. Period, full stop. What you're witnessing here is what happens when right-wingers get to do whatever they want. Totally unchecked. This is what they do. They fucking destroy everything over and over and over. And so that's why you see Coffeezilla getting more political. You know, there's another relatively smaller channel, Lion Meows, I believe it's called. And you know, he started out non-political and just a critic of Joe Rogan. Now he's become more and more political, again, because he wants to tell the truth. And if you tell the truth, you're going to start sounding political, right? So there you have it. I'm telling you, man, Joe's time at the top of the mountain, if it's not over yet, it will be very soon because people are now realizing exactly what he is and what his show is, and it is not at all what it used to be. It is a pathetic, sad disgrace of what once was a fun show. All right, y'all, that's the show, man. I love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out big time and costs you nothing. You can also support the show on Patreon, link below. Remember, y'all, this is real independent media, not selling out like Joe Rogan over here. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack as well, and go sub to Corin's World. I love you, and I'll see you guys later tonight. Peace.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.